shillings and 40 cents, while kerosene will see the highest increment of 15 shillings and 19 cents. The new price now brings the price of petrol in Nairobi to 182 shillings and 70 cents, while that of diesel hits 161 shillings and 13 cents. Fuel prices have gone up despite the recent new plan by the government and oil producers to purchase fuel using Kenyan shillings. It is expected that the fuel prices will increase even more if the 16% VAT on fuel in the Finance Bill 2023 passes into law in the National Assembly. And President William Ruto has defended his government's plan to deduct 3% from civil servant salaries to cater for housing. Ruto said that the proposed levy is not a tax, but rather a win-win project that will see Kenyans get home when the right time comes. The president said the proposals are not only aimed at helping Kenyans acquire homes, but also create employment opportunities for the Kenyan youth.
If you are paying a mortgage, nothing stops you as somebody who is employed. Number one, contributing to this fund, because it is not a tax, it is your money. What you are doing, you are playing your patriotic duty, because out there we have millions of young people who get out of school every year. It is our responsibility, me and you. Why is it our responsibility? Because they are the taxpayers that end up paying our salaries, right? And it is our duty also to see how we can help them in a small way. And you have said correctly that their problem is employment. It is not a tax. It is a contribution you are making, because if it was a tax, tax, it goes one way. You never get it. This is not a tax.
Now, AFC Leopards 1-1 to take Mashemeji Derby bragging rights with their final league victory in 7 years over ACK rivals Gor Mahia FC at the Nyeri National Stadium. A 33rd minute penalty from Victor Omune and Maxwell Otieno's effort on the stroke of halftime was all the visitors needed to end their winless run that stretches back to 2016. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
This is the Modern Vibes on Vibes Radio. Yeah.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Three, two.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Kismuga, Madam Du, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
Baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui, lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trail, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot?
Yes.
He's the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ, when he slapped those guys and walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa, took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanyan.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It gets over.
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
What the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I have to tell you a story. I went for a prayer meeting, which was called for the spouses of candidates for senators and governors. And when I got to the gate, the lady who was the secretary, she refused to, she's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
What does it look like where you are today? Slim pickings so far. Not too much happening coming off Mombasa Road, going into the city. And we'll definitely see that pick up, it being Monday. What's coming off of Thika Superhighway, some traffic here and there. It's already really busy at 6 o'clock on a Monday morning. Looks like it's going to get crazier as we go ahead into the morning. Jogo Road is also starting to build up. We're seeing some of that coming through to the CBD via Kamkunji and then on to Haile Selassie this morning. All right, we're also looking at some of it coming off Gong Road. It's going to continue like that for some time. Let's keep an eye on things and see how Monday pans out. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Spice FM Nyeri. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hey, it's 10 minutes after 6 and it's the 15th of what?
May.
The 15th of May. My friend, see, yesterday was the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
See, yesterday was April Day.
Mm-hmm.
April? Oh, mafuta inakuja in shillings, you in dollar.
Mafuta inakuja in shillings, is that what you said?
Mafuta napanda. Mafuta
Da.
Mafuta napanda. Sasa. Kimeumana. Bwana. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
You look fine.
Oh. Why, thank you.
Unaka fine, thank you.
Unaka
fine, thank you.
Ile?
Baridi
kidogo hivi na hivi.
Bana.
Lakini.
Bana. Just think, Ednah, please leave a note here. People who come here at night and they do this thing, putting the AC at 10.
They should tell us what's wrong.
Putting the AC at 10 degrees. What on earth? Hapana, tumekataa. Good morning. Mimi niko sawa kabisa. Nashukuru Mungu. Moja nilikuwa nakula sambusa pale nje.
Alafu?
Sijakula sambusa. Nimekula hiyo kitu kingine.
Inaitwa sausage.
That one.
Ujazoea kula sausage?
Haya mapocho ya uzunguni haya.
Mapocho. Ednah, hiki kitu inakataa kufanya bana. Ednah.
It's doing like that for you?
The machine has said no.
Oh, lo.
You know, Ednah is a solver of all our problems on Monday morning.
All right, so Ednah will come and sort us out. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Hoping you had a good weekend and you're ready for a new week. Let me tell you what we'll be discussing as we begin the new week. We'll be discussing the Finance Bill 2023. And yesterday, the President put a spirited effort at explaining the Finance Bill.
You saw you put him to task.
And he was, going all out and saying, you know what, I just want people to understand. Please. Anyway, the people who are now in charge of either passing, amending, or rejecting the Finance Bill are members of the National Assembly. It is before the National Assembly Committee on Finance and then also before the Senate Committee on Finance and Budget. Public participation, they've said, send us your memoranda. They'll open the doors next week from the 20th. Come and present all your issues with this finance bill and let's hear you. And today we'll be hosting the chairman of the Finance Committee of the National Assembly, the Honorable Francis Kuria Kimani, MP for Molo. He'll be here alongside the Senator for Migori County, Eddie Geshero Okech, who is a member of the Senate Standing Committee on Finance and Budget. 7 a.m., that's the conversation. Should this bill be reviewed? Okay? Hiyo namna hiyo. At 8 o'clock, we talk about business. How Kenya can boost the economy through trade relations. And the president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Richard Ngatia, joins us at 8 a.m. to have this discussion, to understand hii mambo iko namna gani. The KNCCI is called the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. KNCCI's a position in promoting Kenya as a destination for trades and trade relations. 8 a.m., 9 o'clock, let's talk about Kenya's debts. The public debt, as you heard even yesterday, the president confirming that it's about 9 trillion shillings. Why? Hii pesa ni mingi sana.
Boss.
Imeenda wapi? Yeah?
9 trillion.
Where has it gone to? Now, somebody who worked in the National Debt Management Office at the National Treasury is going to be joining us at 9 a.m. His name is Bernard Mushere. Bernard is now a fraud risk management consultant with Zero Fraud Risk Management Consultants Limited. He joins us at 9 a.m. So today, we will have that conversation. Hii madeni yote tunaambiwa. He says there was some fraud. We want him to tell us. Fraud where? Fraud how? Fraudulently done how?
Fraud went
how? Okay. So those are the conversations. Let's take a break at 15 minutes after 6. Are you online? If you're online, say hello to Eric and Ndu and CT in absentia and Ednah, who's here. Alafu, unaweza tuma risala za rambirambi kwa Arsenal.
Ni what?
Imeenda bwana.
Ni what?
Risala za rambirambi.
Don't know what that is, but it sounds like commiserations, prayers, and sorrows.
That's exactly what it is. Why, guy? Arsenal. Arsenal is a cult.
How many are dead? Ouch.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Oh my God, look at the curtains. Oh, and the shoes. Wow, my dream fridge. Oh.
What is it? My friend, you don't have money. Let's go.
Yes, yes, yes. I know what to do. The interest on my fixed deposit has matured to Songe Mbele na Kingdom Bank.
What is it about Kingdom Bank? Everyone is surprising me about this Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank move.
Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank. Kingdom Bank is now offering mid to long-term fixed saving with higher interest rates. Earn up to 10% interest from as little as 50,000 Kenya shillings on our fixed and call deposits. Enjoy a variety of our great services including savings and junior savings accounts for your kids. Get return on your fixed investments today at Kingdom Bank. Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank.
Nairobi this morning at 15, highs of 24. We'll see highs of 26 and partly cloudy. Nakuru at 16, and at 16 it's cloudy in Nyeri, highs of 25. 25 will also be the high in mostly clear Eldoret this morning. At 25 it's mostly cloudy in Mombasa, 26 and cloudy in Malindi. And we'll see clear conditions in Kisumu this morning at 20. It's 17 and clear in Kakamega. Looking out into Kampala, clear at 19. And it's clear in Dar es Salaam at 25. 10 degrees and partly cloudy in Johannesburg. And at 27, rain showers in Lagos. It's mostly cloudy at 24 in Kinshasa. And we're looking at a sunny Beijing Monday afternoon at 25. It's 10 degrees and cloudy Paris this morning. And rain showers in London at 13. It's 17 and cloudy Sunday night in New York.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 99.7 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Who's online?
18 past. Up and grateful. Sheldon Shapaya says good morning. Carlos Hid says good morning. Is in Ukunda this morning following kutoa stress za jana sikufurahia surely aki Arsenal. Oh yeah. Prayers and sorrows.
Why?
Simba Yaluvuni is his name. And he says, good morning, tuned in this morning. Henry says, Eric really punched up last night. The fact that President of Kenya today would allow such an interview, it is a progress in our democracy. In fact, Kenny from Kisumu, who's loving the show, says, good morning. Good job, guys. The show is going places. My crush remains Ednah. Okay. Michael Gital says, good morning. Looking forward to a great conversation. Eric, great moderation last night at Ikulu. Oh, Ikulu is where Michael is. Not that you were at Ikulu last night. Follow me?
Ikulu is where I was last night.
Ikulu is where? What is Ikulu?
State House.
Ikulu is State House?
Yes.
Okay. That's Kiswahili. Oh, voila. Okay. Helen Jogona says, good morning. Thank you for the great job yesterday night, Eric. Robertson Bogo says, good morning, tuning from Mombasa. And Eric, you're on a different level last night. Monis Janeth is in Singapore and greets all of us. Paul Ntaia says, good morning, Eric and Indu. Have a blissful day ahead. You too, brother. Timothy Ngaria is tuned in from Kitale. Morris is in Kasarani. And Brayo is in Singoet in Kericho County. Luke says good morning, and Mutuku Kithuku Wanzeni, wow, says Pamoja. Good morning, Joseph says, I'm tuned in from Kitise in Makueni County. Wanjala Wabwile, we see you this morning. Good morning, good morning. Also, Alan Ngetich says good morning. All right, folks, tuned in on YouTube as well. Willis, good morning to you. Joseph Ondigi says good morning. Erickson Odhiambo is here with us. Francis Kinyanjui says good morning. Hello, Spice team. Peter Ruto is tuned in from Nakuru City. Robert Makwaro says good morning. We see you, Duncan, Andrew, Vesh, and Faith. Good morning, everybody. Karibuni sana.
Everybody, welcome. So, City will be back hopefully tomorrow, if not tomorrow, Wednesday. And I have the day's proverb. So this week, I don't know whether he's going to maintain it for the week, but today's proverb is from Botswana, is in Setswana, and I'm going to read it in Setswana.
Oh, you are?
But okay, no, let's read it in English. A man's friends are as many as his enemies. A man's friends are as many as his enemies. You can substitute man for whatever other gender you want. Okay. It's a free country.
Really?
Yes.
So,
a person's friends are as many as their enemies. That you have two friends. Yeah?
In equal measure.
Yes. Basically says kikulacho kingoni mwako. Saraf.
What's kikulacho?
Whatever eats you. What bites you.
Okay. I see.
Could be saying that your friends are your...
Yeah. In whom you have a friend, you also have an enemy. It's true, man.
Guy.
Imagine.
Headlines.
On the front page of the Standard, big two meetings set unity deal talk. Really? So the big two meetings are which ones? There was the funeral burial of Field Marshal Mukami on Saturday. And then we also saw where there was greetings and salutations and some pickled looking faces while those greetings and salutations were taking place. And then there was yesterday during sports activities where there was another round of greetings and salutations and pickled faced men and women. So according to this headline, the stage has been set for unity talks, and there were many nice things that were being said. There were some hard-hitting statements that were made, but it looks like, oh, okay, who knows? In 24 hours, the political rivals Raila Odinga and William Ruto have made 3 public appearances together. hinting at possible mending of fences amid discontent over high cost of living and taxation hurting citizens. So there were 3 meetings, I beg your pardon.
They've met thrice.
They've met thrice in 2 days.
Okay.
And they've shaken hands every time. So,
So where and where?
So they met at Field Marshal Mukami's funeral. They then met at the
Kasarani
Stadium during the Kip Keino Classic.
Right.
And then they met at the AFC Leopards Gor Mahia match yesterday afternoon. All right. So those 3 places they met, and touch of shoulders, shake of hands, flashing of teeth. It can only mean good things, no?
We like reading things, man.
Well, or it could just have been that 2 gentlemen met at a funeral, met at an athletics championships, and then met at a football match. And we're reading too much into it. Well, okay, let's see.
Okay.
Schools, surprise, surprise, are facing hard times over delayed funding. We are into week 2 of the second term, and funds from the National Treasury are yet to make their way to schools. We're going to have to wait and see what that means.
Yes.
KCB overtakes Equity as the largest bank in Kenya by way of branches or by way of customers.
Is it customers, accounts?
Or what?
Money, capitalization. Maybe we're going to pesa. KCB we're going to pesa.
Oh, we'll wait and see. Folks are trooping from as far as Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana, Dubai, and Australia to embattle Pastor Ezekiel's Odero's church in Kilifi County. Seeking what? Seeking healing.
Guy.
There's nothing like bad PR, Eric, I keep telling you. People want to go and know what is this thing.
What is this thing?
I want to see
So
myself.
people are actually now going to Ezekiel's church.
Yes. Now you have blown it up and shown there's something about this fella. People are traveling from outside the what? From the overseas to come and see inside. From the overseas to the inside sea.
Okay.
On the front page of The Nation today, holy betrayal, prayers, then murder in the bush. Look, man, I'm a conflicted woman. This thing is not doing me right at all.
What isn't?
I mean...
Shakahola horror.
Yeah. I'm horrified. And you know what? I really fear that day after day, these bodies that are being exhumed are just numbers. They've just become numbers. And then we look and say, okay, how many today? Another 20? Okay, so what's the total? Okay, how many today? Another 12? Okay, so now we're at 210. 210 Kenyans. 210 flames of potential. 210 amongst them children.
Imagine.
I'm horrified because it's like it's becoming a statistic. Okay, how many will we find today? Oh, then it's horrible. Then we go and sleep, we wake up tomorrow. Okay, I don't even know why I'm feeling this way, but it's horrifying. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do because these people are dead.
Bana.
But 201 is the number now. The death toll in the Shakahola massacre. Authorities are continuing to exhume more bodies in mass graves in several parts of Pastor Mackenzie's vast farm in Kilifi County. If it is found that truly he is the cause of this, is there a punishment sufficient to deal with 201 so far? If it is found that it is truly because of him that these deaths have occurred, sufficiency in punishment, sufficiency in having to pay for this, where will it be found, is my question.
It's crazy. It is radicalization.
It is.
Okay. What this man has been doing and what others are still doing, and what we've seen, for example, in previous, we heard about Sheikh Makaburi, Sheikh Abu Drogo, and others on the side. What was happening at Masjid Musa in Mombasa was radicalization of the youth.
Yeah.
This man was radicalizing people.
Absolutely. And to a greater degree.
Very, very much so. The Nation have done a very good job here. They've given this coverage on pages 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. In page 4, 5, they actually look back into when this man started. So in 2019 is when this man walked into Shakahola. And he did not go there and say, come to Shakahola blindly. No, he walked into Shakahola, he started living there, and people, his followers in the church, started coming there. And then they started building and living. So they were basically living here. And what he was saying is he's creating a Bethlehem which is better than the Babel, the Tower of Babel out there where people are just not listening to God. So come here. This is the Holy Land. All right? And with time, then things started changing. So there'd be very many people. And the story talks about how even local fishermen, local shopkeepers started noticing more and more people, outsiders, moving in and coming to shop for supplies at their shops. But then the people would only come like in groups of 10 and go back. They would never use their mobile phones. They would only come with come and shop, and then they'd say, if you call so-and-so's number, that person is their relative, right? The person that they left wherever, not in Shakahola. So, Ndu's relative, you're called by the shopkeeper, tuko na Ndu hapa, tuko na Eric hapa, amenunua unga na nini, send 200 bob to this number. Because they'd never use their phone. Yes. Never use their phone to show where they are, you know? And over time, more and more people moved into this vast area. So they were just living there. And it's crazy because the nation then continues to, on page 6 and 7, to actually even show satellite imagery. And this one, the first section of the forest was cleared between October 2020 and December 2020. 5 months later, by May 2021, we observed changes within the central part of Shakahola village. In January last year, exactly a year later, more brown spaces had been created to create room for presumably more houses. So you can see the number of houses. In total, the investigation that's been done here counts 120 houses within the forest. However, the number of houses could be higher given the number of bodies and the approximation method used. The two structures marked in red that are in the middle appear to be remains of once inhabited houses. So there were basically just people living within this vast area. They're building houses. I was speaking with a commissioner from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights who also visited the area last week. And she says, you'd get into a house and you find that, yes, there has been life here. And what they do is they'd go and pick greens, dry the greens, and store them in the house. So you can see they were eating at some point. They would stop eating. I don't know how they were staging it.
Did it then transition to...
I don't even know how they were staging it. Because as late as yesterday, there were still more people who were rescued. 9 poor people were rescued from this. So I don't know whether you do something and then when you feel something, that's when you know the spirit has told you now you're ready to come. I don't know what he was telling them.
My God in heaven.
Yeah, it's just a really, really, really crazy.
It's a terrible situation.
The president yesterday was asked a direct question. Who dropped the ball? Do you take responsibility? And he said, yes.
He asked for forgiveness.
A lot of people dropped the ball and I'm really sorry. He said, I apologize on behalf of the government of Kenya for this. And that's a big thing already.
It is.
It's a big thing.
This is not child's play, Eric. This thing.
Yeah. It's the job of a government to protect lives and property. Now, these are lives that just went over and over and over. And even all these stories are showing that even then, there were concerns being raised by the local security people, local chief, local DCC, local police bosses would be saying, no. People would be reporting. The first death was reported in 2020. A family from Western Kenya went to Malindi and said, our person is dead and they're in this forest. And it was raised. The bishop, this Jama was asked questions. He was released. Yes. Crazy, man. Crazy. Anyway, time for that traffic break. 28 minutes to 7.
Yolanda Mulo and DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, you know it's sugar and spice. Great vibes, conversations, a lot of humor. I like to say we don't give an F, we give 3 Fs.
You and I are in this relationship, so it is me to tell you who. Yeah.
When you ask a chick, how many guys have you been with? She's like, including you. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock. If I were you, I'd tune in to Spice FM 94.4.
I want you on my team.
So does everybody else.
Yeah. All right, Jago Road is where you see the most of it right about now. Folks are just at the train station junction there, heading out towards the City Stadium roundabout. Traffic there as you head then towards Kamkunji. It's not too busy then getting onto Haile Selassie. Traffic coming off Gong Road also is not too crazy either. The Thika Superhighway also some traffic coming in from Zimmerman out then towards all the way through to the Pangani underpass. It's starting to build up, and we'll see that folks are using the service lanes if you want to stay away from that traffic that will pile up as you get towards the city. Think about that. Kiamba Road looks pretty good. There's an option for you to use quickly now before that traffic, which is definitely going to pile up, does so. Some traffic then coming off of Waiaki Way. The Red Hill Link Road not looking too bad right about now. Many options at about 6:30 this morning. Let's see what Monday morning pans out to be. Speak to us, Spice FMKE on Twitter.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
What are you looking at?
Mornings.
So Mombasa Road, the lower road, has been marked. You know what it looks like? It looks like somebody was playing tic-tac-toe. No, actually, no. You know how when we were in school, you draw the sticks for counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you cross. That's what it looks like, actually, on Mombasa Road. So I'm not quite sure if people were moving in a horizontal manner when they were marking the roads, or they were moving vertically and doing but these lines, I don't even know what they're supposed to be.
So they've drawn a line in the middle of a lane.
Yeah.
So they've marked one end of the lane to another end of the lane, and then they've put
the dotted in the middle. There's 2 dotted lines.
They're splitting the lanes into halves.
So good luck driving on Mombasa Road. If you're using the lanes for any kind of direction, the markings have dried, but it might be an interesting feat to navigate Mombasa Road this morning. So yay! Enjoy.
Interesting.
Schools,
yes.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
Schools are pleading. Secondary heads, school heads are pleading for funds. Principals of secondary schools have asked the government to release capitation funds, saying the continued delay threatens to ground the running of institutions. There's nothing that could be truer. Okay, let me just tell you the story.
Yes.
Kenya Secondary School Heads Association chairperson Dumulikai said that schools have not received the free day secondary education capitation funds for the second term. The situation is compounded by failure by some parents to pay school fees as well. So, they would have relied and said, if government has not sent money, some of the parents who would then send school fees would give them something to go on before government. So nobody has done anything. According to them, schools are in debt and are surviving on the mercy of suppliers. If the suppliers get tired of waiting for payment and refuse to supply, schools will be grounded. He added that the crisis has affected both day and boarding schools. Schools opened last week for the second term, which is the longest in the school calendar. During the term, learners in Form 4 undertake mock examinations as they prepare for the national test at the end of the year. Schools also participate in co-curricular activities like ball games and music festivals, etc. Things that were removed because of COVID. This is the term that all of those things now come back. All right? So there's trips, there's traveling, there's doing all kinds of things. You don't have the money. Going to be difficult to do that, no? Yeah. He said these things will be adversely affected unless the money is dispersed immediately, not tomorrow, yesterday. Preparations for activities should be put on hold until funds are sent to school. So things that were marked for this term, they're already saying, well, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to postpone them until we get money, because how are you going to say you're going for music festivals, then you travel on credits? How
do you do that? Yeah.
So he added that schools had to foot the cost of co-curricular activities for the first time. They already had to start doing it on their own. Basic Education Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang has issued a circular requiring secondary schools to fill a fresh application form for the free secondary program. Okay, see, now this is my problem. Why fill again?
For a new term.
Okay. All right. So you fill termly. Okay. All right, you fill termly. The reason for such an exercise, according to him, is to be able to ascertain the number of learners not in the National Education Management Information System, the NEMIS, yet they are in class. They're in the class register. So if you send them the new application, now they'll be able to see this is the actual. So we know exactly how much we're sending.
These people always just...
Dr. Belio Kipsang.
Look. NEMIS records a child when a child registers for the first time in school.
Yes.
All right? So let's say that NEMIS does not capture at kindergarten. Let's say NEMIS captures at grade 1.
It captures at grade 3, actually.
So let's say.
Yeah.
So let's say that NEMIS captures at grade 3, which shouldn't be the case. It should be at the moment the child is 7 years old, school. Can do like this. They enter class. You're captured in NEMIS. And you are then associated with a school.
Yeah.
That is what the capitation is based on. And you have people, human beings, physical beings who've been employed by the ministry as inspectors of schools. That inspector can come and see. So this school has a register that tells me that every class, grade 1 has 100 children. Inspector can enter class. Stream 1 has 56, like that, and count.
So now what...
and establish for sure.
Yeah.
And mark that as the case. Once that is done, that's it.
But now what Dr.
If a child drops out...
maybe they've changed school. That's what he's saying.
If they change school, NEMIS should be able to capture because you're transferred with NEMIS.
Now, what I'm saying is that this is, for me, this doesn't make sense. They shouldn't actually use the class register to be able to figure out what capitation is. You have a system. That's why you had the system in the first place. So it really doesn't matter where this child has gone. It shouldn't matter that somebody has transferred school between term 1 and term 2, because you have this umbrella system. That's why you have it in the first place. And that child is still in the system.
It just shows, but it's important to know the school, the class, the school that this child is associated with, because capitation is to the school.
When you transfer schools, when you go to a new school, there is a form.
Yes.
There is a form you fill, you put your NEMIS number. By the time the new school is giving you admission. They've put you...
And NEMIS should automatically then transfer you there.
Exactly.
So you should be seeing all these things. The reason why we keep hearing, there's all this confusion, it's because there are people who are still playing games.
This is nonsense. It's nonsense.
There are people who are still playing games. There are people, even this issue of delayed salaries for the 35,000, you will find some Ukora has gone on here, that there are some ghosts who have actually received salaries. It's just madness. It's too much.
There's more madness, but tell me your story first before I tell you mine.
No, you tell me.
I tell you. Okay. There's a puzzle. You know, puzzle, not the one we used to play and put the pieces. Actually, it is. They cannot find the missing piece because there's a state agency that has been operating for guess how many years? 8 without a board. Attorney General Justin Muturi is on the spot over revelations that an agency under his office has been operating for more than 8 years without a board, and staff have no job definition. How, you may ask? According to the petitioner, excuse me, although the Victims Protection Act, which established the Victim Protection Board, was enacted in 2014, the agency does not have a board. Furthermore, the Victims' Rights chapter has not been implemented. The staff of the Victim Protection Board have been on salary for 8 years, yet the board remains unincorporated and the Victims' Rights Charter has not been implemented. According to this petitioner, they want the Senate to investigate the delay. In addition, he wants the House to investigate the functioning of the board and its activities since 2014. So this is not just obviously, from the read of it, it's not just some random guy who just thought, you know what, let me go poke around in the AG's office and see if there are any boards that... No, obviously, somebody who went through the ringers because of something. Something happened, and then they're trying to find out what happened here. And that's how they've been able to find out this information. We know there's an act which then establishes board, and board then blah blah blah. This has not been done, and so the question is, obviously this petitioner has gotten the short end of the stick in something and has decided to now go and find out why this particular entity is operating without any kind of establishment and implementation.
What?
For me, the bigger question is, how many more operations do you have without the prerequisite establishment?
And why?
And why would you do
I
that?
mean, with all these government appointments and why would they miss that one? There's so many people to give jobs. Why would they miss this one? Unless they just do not want this thing to function. The witness protection.
Yep.
They just don't want it to function. Because kuna vile itafanya mambo yake.
Yep.
President William Ruto's push to deduct 3% from workers' salaries to fund the development of affordable housing continues to draw criticism from various stakeholders who want the proposal contained in the 3.6 trillion budget shelved. The latest to add their voices are the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, with the National Vice President Julius Korir and Secretary General Henry Obocha, who said yesterday the Parliament should reject the proposed levy, terming it punitive. Separately, the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry Chairman Leonard Langat said the government should be careful in the way it seeks to raise money through taxes and levies to fund the proposed national budget. Korir and Obocha say before implementing this levy, the government should increase teachers' salaries by at least 30%, so that then you can come and deduct 3%. Okay. I just come and deduct money from the little money that I have. Now, the president took a lot of time explaining this yesterday. And he went on and on, he basically looked at it from it's a social approach. Those that are able should be putting in money into some contribution so that those who are not able can start living in better housing. That is the bottom line of what the president is saying.
Sure.
You are employed, you have a salary, okay? You have a regular income. If, for example, you earn 40,000 shillings, 3% of 40,000 shillings is 1,200. Okay. 1,200, if you put it there into this scheme, then this fund has money. Then this fund with this money is able to build houses. When you're building houses, you create employment for people who are working in the mujengo. You create employment for the artisans who are providing milango na madirisha na nini. You create employment for the cement companies that are going then to supply cement into all these construction projects. And most importantly, the person who lives in slums today is then able to move into a better house. Okay? Here, what is wrong with you doing that?
Sasa, the question is, and I also heard it being asked yesterday, and it's been asked previously, and it will continue to be asked. It sounds like it's a benevolent thing to do. Why are you making it mandatory? And you say it's not a tax because tax is mandatory.
Yeah.
But you're pushing it through Parliament, so then it is going to be established as a law.
Yes.
So it's mandatory.
It's mandatory.
So it's a tax.
He'll argue that it's not a tax, but it's a contributory.
Then make it voluntary.
It's a mandatory contributory scheme. You see, like NHIF and NSSF, right? As long as you're employed, it's statutory. Okay, it is mandatory for you to start saving towards your retirement.
So now you're also saying it's mandatory for you to start saving for somebody else to own a house.
For home ownership, either for yourself and for others. You see? That's the thing that he's arguing. The only issue, though, is that as he talks about all this being mandatory, the process being followed. Sufficient public participation, because that's the bottom line. Many of the people who are raising this concern are raising concern because they feel they have not been approached, explained to,
you know what,
made to understand what this thing is all about.
Absolutely. And you know what this is? It's a fly trap for litigation.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Big one.
Yes.
Because we know very well that according to this constitution, everybody clamored about that public participation was going to be one of the glaring things, that there had to be participatory citizenship. And this is one of the things that people are going to ask about. First of all, I'm working to the bone as it is. Yeah. It's not even enough. Then you come and tell me that something has got to be, this participation then has to be mandatory so that everybody can have an opportunity to own a house. Well and good. But then how about you? If you're involving my money, then you might as well involve me in the decision.
Yes.
Come on. It's very simple.
Yep.
The way he has said it's very simple for that. What's the problem? I heard him say that. What's the problem, guys?
Yeah.
What's the problem? All I'm saying is give us 3%. We make it work. And we're not loaned. We give you back.
You let other people also.
House.
Yeah.
So what's the problem? So the same thing I'm saying. What's the problem? So you just tell Kenyans. Let them come and tell you what they think. Maybe you can tweak it, even make it better. Maybe they have ideas that you could use to better this thing. Listen to them. What's the problem?
That's the thing. It's all about how much have you actually engaged the people.
Yeah.
It's about have you had sufficient public participation? You should maybe have gone round, had very many conversations with people.
Yeah.
And then get buy-in. And then implement it. And that's the big challenge that the president is having on this one. It's
cannot be authoritarian in its way. Cannot.
But let's see what the members of parliament will say. They'll be joining us this morning, the senator and the member of parliament, both from their separate House Finance committees. Mount Kenya leaders are closing ranks in a tussle over devolved funds. The 1 man 1 shilling story has taken an interesting twist, with politicians from UDA closing ranks with their Azimio counterparts. Under the current revenue sharing formula, population is accorded 45%, basic equal share 25%, the poverty index is 20%, land mass 8%, and fiscal responsibility 2%. Mount Kenya politicians are insisting this is leaving the heavily populated counties with little cash for development. For population is actually getting the bigger ranking here with 45%. Kiambu Governor Kimani Wamatangi in 2016 filed a petition in court before Justice Joseph Ogutu seeking to compel the CRA to adopt the 1 man 1 shilling formula. Then, through his lawyer Kibe Mongai, the then Senator Wamatangi argued that areas that were geographically larger yet sparsely populated received more money than densely populated but smaller areas. He was citing his own Kiambu, Nairobi, Murang'a, Nakuru, Bungoma, Meru, Homa Bay, Machakos, Kakamega, Kisii, Siaya, Kisumu, Uasin Gishu, Migori, Kilifi, Bomet, Nyandarua, Kirinyaga and Kajiado as counties where the allocation per person was 4,000 shillings compared to sparsely populated regions like Lamu, Tana River, Isiolo, Samburu, Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, Turkana, which were getting between 10,000 and 21,000 per person. Now, Mount Kenya leaders are coming together. Laikipia East MP Mwangi Kionjori says the drive must be pushed with goodwill and in unity, as opposed to the emerging trend where some of our leaders want to muzzle the debate for fear of upsetting the party bigwigs. Gedongori's Gathoni wa Mushomba says this 1 man 1 shilling 1 vote ideology must come to fruition. We have no choice but have it in place by the next election. Former Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria is accusing UDA politicians in the region of being insincere. He's saying, "Senye ndio mlipiga BBI." DP Rigathi Gachagua, the presumed Mount Kenya kingpin, said on Inoro TV 3 weeks ago, "It's a debate we are taking seriously, just like the way we will be holding a 3-day conference in Meru County to debate our coffee, tea and dairy sectors." This one, let's see how it goes.
It looks to me like this is something that's finally going to find its way in. I'm telling you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's gaining momentum. It's coming. And let's see how far they go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see some pictures of some books last week with the face of an MP on them?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Did you hear the chatter? Okay. There's been outrage as an MP gives books with her face on the cover. Aldai Member of Parliament, Marianne Kitani, is on the spot after distributing books to primary schools here, bearing her portrait on the front cover. Mathematics and me, social studies and I.
So it's on textbooks?
Yeah.
Not exercise books?
No. Good thing is that they can't be resold, right? But anyway.
Wait a minute. So she went to the publisher and said, publisher, you're the one who's been mandated, approved by
whomever.
Those guys.
KICD. Yeah.
So I want to buy books for schools in my constituency.
Yes. As you're doing that, here is my picture.
Yangu.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is she buying books?
It's CDF, she's helping. Vile watu wanapea bursary anapea vitabu.
But why are there no books? Okay, you read the story first. I'll ask the questions.
Okay. Now, in the education project that commenced last week, the legislator set tongues wagging after she presided over the distribution of Class 8 revision books to various schools in Nandi South sub-county.
Revision books.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Banja and Kaptwai primary schools are among those that benefited from the first batch of books, which Kitani said was part of promises she made to the electorate during campaigns. She said she targets to supply learning materials including English, CRE, social studies, math and Kiswahili revision books to over 140 schools to boost preparation for this year's Kenya Certificate of Primary Education exam. She said, I have received calls from various people questioning why the books have my portraits, but I'm not the first legislator to do this.
What's
the problem? There are many members of parliament from central Kenya who provided learning materials for their constituents. She did not disclose the amount of money used to purchase the books, but confirmed to have devoted a section of the National Government Constituency Development Funds, NGCDF, in the exercise. A section of the locals criticized the initiative, terming it as a waste of resources. I mean, come on, stop it. And not a priority in the local schools where pupils are grappling with poor infrastructure. Like, for example, build a toilet because streams are packed. Obviously, it bears some kind of burden on your sanitary services.
Right.
We need something like that. If you like, paste your name on the side of the toilet. That one, no problem. However,
Keitani was here.
In whichever way you want to look at it, okay. But the books, you put your name, they're revision books. Nobody's maybe somebody will use them again in the future. Yeah. But usually, they'll normally tell you get a revised edition.
Yeah, but for this year, we've done it. The thing is, do the candidates this year need revision books?
I see what you're doing. I will not be the one to answer your question.
Because if they do, then give them the books. Next year, next year.
Yeah.
I get this. The thing is that she is actually giving out revision books for the children to prepare for the exams.
Yes.
Lakini mambo iko na cartel mingi.
Ameweka picture.
So why do we need revision books?
To revise.
For like past papers and all. So someone has actually compiled them into revision.
Yes, they're there, widely available. So now she said this one, I put my name and put my face.
Yeah, so that I can then give my kids so that my children can perform better.
Me.
And they can perform better.
Yeah.
And because it's me who's given to them.
Yeah. What's
the issue by the way? So what's the problem?
That she has put her name there.
What is
she has
wrong?
Put her face there.
And what's wrong?
That it's not about her. It's about the education of the children.
Yeah. Is the content about her? Is there a question about who is your MP?
Which school did your MP go to?
Yes.
No. She said, look, I don't know. She's like you. She said, I don't understand people are making noise. I'm not the first one to have done it. Why didn't you shout when those people in central Kenya were doing it? I beg people should leave me alone.
If you actually think about it, well...
Why are you disturbing me?
If she was going to supply, if CDF was going to supply the books, and she's the patron of the CDF, right?
They said she's misused that money, and then you've put your face everywhere.
How has she
that
misused
money
the
could
money?
have been used for something else.
But why something else?
Infrastructure. People are coming to school.
But what is the need of these candidates?
Pass the exam.
Bas. Sasa. What do candidates want?
They want to pass KCP.
Pass.
They won't use the toilet to pass KCP.
You address the need as has been presented to you.
Lakini usiweke picha yako kwa.
Shida ya picha ni nini?
Takuona kila saa.
Itafanya mtoto asahau. Well, I mean, what's the problem? This one is going to be a tough.
It's going to be funny because she says she's not removing her picture.
Yeah, I think it's just the bigger issue. The bigger story here is it's not about personalities, right? It should never be about personalities. It's about the service. And if it's about the children getting the service, not from their member of parliament, but from their government, because it's their right, then it should not be about, put the government of Kenya, what's it called? Emblem. What's it called? Put it there. Don't put a member. Or you can even write CDF. It's what I'll die. I'll die CDF. Sawa.
Yeah, that's okay. We know you're the MP.
I'll die Sawa. Why must you write your name there? It is
not
too much.
Put your picture. Picture.
It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. Okay. Bei ya mafuta ilipanda jana. And there's a story here that says that, you know, on Thursday, there were 2 ships that arrived at the port of Mombasa, bringing that
ship.
ship, not sheep, ship, ship. Yes. So those 2 ships. I see chips. When they docked at the port of Mombasa, there's insufficient capacity to actually store the mafuta that they bring immediately. All right? Because of that the CS for Energy, Bwana Churchill, is saying, we hope to stabilize petroleum prices soon by ensuring that demurrage charges are reduced. The government is in the final stages of increasing storage capacity in Mombasa and other cities to ensure there is constant supply to control prices. Kenya Pipeline has finished taking over the defunct Kenya Petroleum Refinery Limited at Changamwe Depot in Mombasa, and that will ensure that we reduce the cost of petroleum products because of demurrage. So, meli zimefika. As long as the meli is sitting there in the water and it's not being discharged, it charges you.
It's charging, yeah. As in, man, take it.
Yep.
As long as I'm sitting here with your oil, I'm charging you. Because I have other things that I can be doing.
Yes.
Right.
So. That's the issue is.
Yeah.
Time for the news, 7 a.m.
I'm Dennis Asseto. President William Ruto has said the commission of inquiry he appointed on May 5th will put people involved in Shakahola deaths into account. The head of state added that he will talk to religious leaders on the matter.
Hii jambo na ndio nimeweka jopo mara mbili. Jambo la kwanza nimeweka jopo Judicial Commission ifuatilie uhalifu na ituambie ni nani alizembea kazini ndio haya mambo yakatokea, na huyu bwana washirika wake ni nani, haya makaburi yaliendelea vipi, hii mambo yote yalitendeka vipi. Hiyo ni ya kwanza. Ya pili, nimeweka pia task force ya watu ambao wengi wao ni watu wa dini, lakini pale wahalifu na watu wenye nia mbaya na watu wa mauaji kama vile Makenzi na wenzake wanapotumia dini, ni vipi tutazuia jambo hili lisifanyike tena katika taifa letu la Kenya.
Ruto also apologized to Kenyans for the tragedy that occurred in Shakahola, urging them to be very careful.
Kuna utepetevu katika upande wetu wa serikali na inapaswa mimi niombe msamaha kwa sababu Wakenya 210 tayari wamepatikana katika makaburi. Kwa sababu kuna makosa, ni vizuri tuwaombe Wakenya msamaha kwamba jambo hili lilitendeka tukiwa na serikali.
And President William Ruto has defended his government's decision to increase VAT on petroleum products from 8% to 16%. The head of state, who had on the presidential campaign trail last year, noted a need to rethink VAT on fuel. So the move is to seal loopholes rogue players use and give the government more revenue. According to the head of state, his government in August last year found a 900 billion shillings commitment on Kenyan roads, which they have tried to cut down by stopping some of the roads that had not been constructed. President Ruto said the suggestion to hike VAT on petroleum products by his economic advisory team will give the government 50 billion shillings.
having differential rates, one at 8%, others at 16%, poses a problem, an integrity problem. People use it as a loophole to manipulate numbers, VAT in, VAT out. So the advice that my economic team working with Treasury gave was we must eliminate this loophole that people are exploiting, number one. Number two, this 8% that we are adding is going to give us about 50 billion shillings. It will begin to deal with the problem of roads across the country.
Okay. Meanwhile, you'll have to dig deeper into your pocket to purchase fuel. This after the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority in the latest fuel adjustment announced that petrol prices have gone up by 3 shillings and 40 cents. Diesel has increased by 6 shillings and 40 cents, while kerosene has seen the highest increment of 15 shillings and 19 cents. The new prices now brings the price of petrol in Nairobi to 182 shillings and 70 cents, while that of diesel has hit 161 shillings and 13 cents. Fuel price has gone up despite the recent new plan by the government and oil producers to purchase fuel using Kenya shillings. It is expected that the fuel prices will increase after the 16% VAT on fuel in the Finance Bill 2023 passes into law in the National Assembly. And President William Ruto has defended his government's plan to deduct 3% from civil servant salaries to cater for housing. Ruto said the proposed levy is not a tax, but rather a win-win project that will see Kenyans get homes when the right time comes. The president said the proposals are not only aimed at helping Kenyans acquire homes, but also create employment opportunities for Kenyan youth.
If you are paying a mortgage, nothing stops you as somebody who is employed. Number one, contributing to this fund, because it is not a tax, it is your money. What you are doing, you are playing your patriotic duty, because out there we have millions of young people who get out of school every year. It is our responsibility, me and you. Why is it our responsibility? Because they are the taxpayers that end up paying our salaries, right? And it is our duty also to see how we can help them in a small way. And you have said correctly that their problem is employment. It is not a tax. No, it is a contribution you are making, because if it was a tax, tax, it goes one way. You never get it. This is not a tax.
Let's get the Fields and FC Leopards 1-2-1 to take Mashimeji Derby bragging rights with the first league victory in 7 years of AG rivals Gor Mahia FC at the Nyeri National Stadium. A 33rd minute penalty from Victor Omune and Maxwell Otieno's efforts on the stroke of halftime was all the visitors needed to end their winless run that stretches back to 2016. Austin Odhiambo had a goal for Gor in between those two strikes, but his effort was insufficient as the record champions surrendered their title advantage to Tusker FC. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asada. Good morning.
All right, Monday morning is starting to look really busy. It's busy on Jago Road and looking slightly north, busy as well. Going out towards Kangundo Road. Then we're looking also at Juja Road, and then the Thika Superhighway coming out towards Kiambu Road, and then Limuru Road. Looking at this whole circle gets very busy as you come round to Wayaki Way, and then out on James Gishuru. Really busy traffic this morning. For the first time in a very long time, there's a little bit of traffic on the Southern Bypass, and that's heading out into the city. Looks like it might be here for some time. Uhuru Highway is doing the thing. As you get towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, you'll see some traffic as you're trying to get then into the CBD. It will be a busy Monday morning. It's all manageable though from what we see. Let's look at North Airport Road heading out towards Outer Ring and then onto the Eastern Bypass, where that is pretty busy right about now. Tell us where you are. Are you stuck somewhere? Talk to us on Spice FMKE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
7 minutes
This
after
is
7. Good morning and welcome to the second half. Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, on this 15th day of May 2023. We are live on Spice FM, on KTN Home. We live stream the show on YouTube and Facebook as well. It's Eric Latif and Ndu Okot today. CT Muga is still away. I&M Bank is a leading tier 1 commercial bank, and it has taken the most disruptive step in the Kenyan financial services sector, signing up for Kenya's largest unsecured personal loan of up to 10 million shillings. Imagine 10 million bob. So what is it that you've been thinking about? Putting up a house and you want a direct one. So you go to I&M Bank and tell them, look, guys, I want to build a house. How much will it cost you? You know, it's okay. How much do you want? You can get up to 10 million shillings. All you need to do is you take your payslip and your letter of introduction from your employer. Mambo namna hiyo. And then what do?
They ask you, so how much do you want? Do you have a loan somewhere? Perhaps we can even help you buy that off and then give you a little bit more on top of that. And then your tenor starts from that time.
Yep.
Not taking into consideration all. And then they give you up to 8 years to pay for it. 8 years. 96 months to pay and clear that. Sit pretty.
It's the way to go. All you need is your employer to support you in this, in achieving your goals. Simply ask your employer to sign up I&M at work today to enable you access the largest unsecured personal loan in the country. You can call them 0719 088 000 or visit any I&M bank near you. I&M Bank Tunakujali. And we'll be giving out some cash this week. So, pesa. 5,000. Just keep looking at our social media handles, Spice FM KE on Twitter and on Facebook and on Instagram. And we'll be posting a question, which will be you to tell us the pressing issues that you have for money today. And we'll pick one of them and reward 5,000 shillings. That's coming up. Okay, we have two guests in the studio. Members of Parliament, one from the National Assembly, one from the Senate. Both are very, very, very instrumental in the conversation that we'll be having today. It's about Finance Bill 2023, which is before Parliament, and we'll be discussing it. The National Assembly Chairman of the Finance and National Planning Committee, the Honourable Kuria Kimani, the MP for Molo, is here with us. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Good morning, listeners.
Good to have you here today.
Good
Karibu
morning.
sana.
Thank you.
And we have Senator Eddie Gesheru Okech. He is a senator from Migori County and a member of the Finance and Budget Committee of the Senate. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Eddie.
Karibu sana.
Morning.
Karibu sana.
And good morning, my brother Kimani.
Yes.
Good morning, Senator.
Salimia nani hivyo namna hiyo.
Kini hakuna handshake.
Hakuna.
Pengine there is handshake. We don't know.
Okay. I have the day's proverb. And our proverb for today, City comes and he'll decide whether he continues with Botswana. But our proverb today is from Botswana. A man's friends are as many as his enemies. A man's friends are as many as his enemies. Mheshimiwa Kimani, what do you make of that?
A man's friend are as many as his enemies. The man is a great contributor to generations and to the growth of any population. Is a protector of households, is seen as a symbol of leadership. And I think you need as many friends as perhaps you need your enemies, because sometimes your friends don't tell you the truth, so you need the enemies that are going to push you the right direction because they don't want to succeed. And if you find yourself always surrounded only by friends, then there must be something you're doing wrong. Perhaps you are allowing them to be like them. you saying yes to everything, you a people's pleaser person.
Yeah.
And people like that because you get to be very kind or too kind. If you get to be too kind to them, you get to give yourself more to them than it is for you. So you need more friends, and you need as many friends as you need enemies.
Senator, would you say the same?
I think first of all, I'll answer it in the context of politics, and because now politics, in my humble view, is about decisions that are always made towards who gets what, when, how, and why, and that decision is very critical. Because it's always about resources, and man in a state of nature is very selfish and very aggressive, and then man in a state of political organization is therefore always keen to give and take, and in that give and take, sometimes you will annoy some people, but you'll please some people. And that annoyance is what some people might call you creating enemies. And those you please, you then create friends. So there is never a balance where you will have every decision that you make pleasing everyone, and every decision that you make annoying everyone. There's always people who will be able to find interest in the decision that you make, and there is always people who will find an interest in the decision that you make, to the extent of even the conversation we're going to have today. That's why we have got sometimes the majority side and minority side, and we keep on that tension. And in that kind of tension, there's always progress.
Solutions come from such situations.
Exactly. New ideas come, new understanding come, new perspective come. So therefore, probably it's actually true that actually your enemies as a human being, as you live this life, will always be as many as your friends.
Asante sana. Yeah. On to the issue then, finance bill. Mheshimiwa, you've invited the public to submit their views. Just take us through that. What's the deadline, and then what happens?
Thank you very much, Latif. In our constitution, Article 118 provides that no law shall be enacted by Parliament without the involvement of public through public participation. So on Monday last week, we published on our dailies invitation for members of the public to write to us to submit the memoranda. As at close of business on Friday, we had received 1,300 memoranda. And I'm sure they have come even more during the weekend. And after the President's address last evening, which, again, congratulations, you watch you very objective and very focused in your questions in the address of the plan, the state of the nation with His Excellency the President. And from next week, we are going to have now the sittings for various stakeholders, because most of these taxes, for example, if they touch on the Kenya Association of, if it's like manufacturing issues, we want to hear from the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and like for the this housing levy, we definitely will want to hear the views of whether it is the teachers, whether it is the workers. So we're going to have an objective, hoping that we can do it for like 2 weeks or at worst 1 week, and then get to really listen to the public. But we have also again received in soft via email a lot of recommendations. And what you have, we know is a great idea. It's a brilliant idea, because we have one objective that Kenyans have expressly told us that they don't want us to continue to borrow. And even if we wanted to, we don't have legroom, because we have a 10 trillion ceiling set by Parliament. So unless perhaps you go back and change that ceiling, which depicts the whole purpose why, again, you put that particular ceiling. The economy is slowly recovering from post-COVID-19, from the Russia-Ukraine war, and there is show of a lot of positivity in most of this, in very many sectors. And you're hoping that the tax measures we've put up close are going to spur back economic growth, lead to more employment, and lead to more growth in GDP. But to directly answer your question, we want to be very objective in our public participation, because previously we have had comments that have been brought forward by members of the public that have actually become better ideas than what the original bill had. And by the time we're done with the public participation, we convince the committee, and then we convince the House that we've had, always when you do public participation, you have a more smoother process. And most of the time you end up getting very brilliant ideas, and some that maybe were not foreseen, or maybe even sometimes were not part of the bill. Yep.
And I guess, coming to you, Senator, as well, the question then is, this participation that is coming from members of the public, will it be used? There's a difference between seeing it and then taking it and applying it to a final decision that then will be made. Unequivocally, what then, all these views that are coming in from the public, how will they actually be used? Do they play a part in moving a decision in one way or another, and will they actually be applied?
I want to tell you for sure and for a fact that, and this is not going to be the first time we have had, within the last, I've served in the Committee on Finance and National Planning, though I was just a member for the last 5 years, and I'm telling you for a fact, the times we had excellent ideas and we actually put them in the report and they actually got adopted. And even when we sought deliberations from Treasury, because this is a Treasury document, it's an executive bill. Even when we thought and said, fine, these stakeholders are saying like this, Treasury has said, actually, that doesn't harm. That's a good plan. We can work with that. The only thing that we must also know and do is, if we were to take the views of 3,000 people, they most likely will have 3,000 different views, or at least 1,000 different views. There's no way, we would, unless now we have 3,000 bills. But I'm saying we are going to listen to the public objectively, and where those proposals lead to the same solution. Because we want the same solution. We want our economy to work. We definitely need to raise our revenues. We want to expand our tax base. That's for sure. Because we have dug ourselves so into the hole that we can't continue to dig ourselves more into the hole. We must find a way of getting out of the hole. And if then someone gives an idea that definitely works, come on, it would be stupid not to take the views of that particular person and put them into action.
What qualifies as an idea that works?
It's a whole debate, and Parliament is a house of debate. So it's about having a conversation. It's about having a conversation.
Senator, the minority side on both sides of the House has said they flatly reject the proposals as contained in the finance bill. Why?
Thank you. First of all, I've listened to my brother talking about objectivity with regards to reports that will be given. And, there is a traditional African saying that if a snake bites you on your way to the river, you will never forget that path. And one of the reasons why we are, at least, especially from the members of the Senate, why we doubt whether there is genuine engagement in this public participation is because of how DORA bill was treated. The DORA bill was the bill that was looking at the division of revenue, the vertical division of revenue required under Article 203 of the Constitution. And there were indeed very serious conversations that went. We engaged serious stakeholders, and I like the fact that my brother Kimani is talking about aggregating this as much as possible to the extent that it is practically possible to take those views, and to the extent that our committee, their committee, engaged various key stakeholders, including people like CRA, who are given this primary mandate under Article 216 of the Constitution. And the most interesting thing was that bill even had errors as it was proposed from the Treasury. For instance, we know that you are required to be able to divide this revenue based on the the previously most audited finance bill, and the ordinary revenue that we add is the one for 2019-2020, which comes to about 1.7 billion, and to the extent that our
trillion.
Our 1.7 trillion, yes. To the extent that our own finance and budget committees identified placement errors and mathematical errors in that particular bill, pure mathematical errors, and advised the Treasury that here there is an error, here there's an error. The National Assembly, most people, whether it was an intellectual laziness or just lack of pure goodwill, passed it with that errors. When it came to Senate, senators from the other side of the aisles also passed this with the same errors. So we have no reason to believe that this public participation is genuine based on the DORA bill. The second reason is that the government seems to be overburdened with just basically cash crunch, to the extent that the way the current finance bill is framed is actually not willing to solve what I would call responsible taxation, but basically do harambe for government. And the reason why I'm saying harambe is because you see this desperate tendency to want to convince IMF and other countries that gives us concessionary loans that we can actually be able to get money to tax and pay our debt. And that's a bad principle, because when you are doing a finance bill, especially that overly touches on taxation, you must always look at three taxation principles. The first principle is what we call the efficiency principle. The efficiency principle recognizes that taxes actually take money out of the private sector mostly, of course with a few public sectors, but mostly the private sector, and channels that resources to the public sector. So when you are doing that, for the private sector, there are losses that are experienced, to the extent that those losses affect their business decisions on how they get jobs to people, how they expand on products, and how they build brands. Because countries that have made strides in the world are countries that have got strong brands, Coca-Cola brands, which kind of brands. You think about all of this. And then the second tax principle is bearing and sharing the burden. And that one now talks about the common mwananchi. The common mwananchi who works for KTN, who works for Senate, all these people. When you are taking taxes from them as well, you want to be able to ensure that you are sharing burden to the extent that those taxes make sense to what they are going to do vis-a-vis the benefit they are going to get. Then the last one is just the collection mechanism that ensures that there is serious compliance with regards to that if you have classified, for instance, right now we have got 6 million registered taxpayers in Kenya, which constitute about 12% of our population, and they are giving our government, they should only give our government about $20 billion worth of taxes. But then you find that the collection mechanism makes it impossible for people who are in the position of power to actually be able to be taxed. In fact, some of the biggest tax evasions that we are seeing are happening at the highest apex of leadership. When you're in position of power and your business is running, you find ways of evading taxes. So the collection should be a fair collection to the extent that everybody is able to pay their taxes as they should. Because otherwise then you have, like what you're seeing right now, 45% of people who are supposed to be paying in that bracket are the ones who are paying. But then the burden is shifted to the people who don't have the power to be able to protect themselves against the tax regime. Now, those three principles are all negated in this finance bill, to the extent that then you question, and I can take you through it as we'll be going through the conversation, through every single tax proposal, how this is negated. And then now you ask yourself, if you've deliberately negated these three principles of taxations, are you actually genuine about public participation? Because that one is a deliberate move. You start with a principle before you get to a proposal. If your principles are already wrong, how then are we doing public participation?
Okay. Mheshimiwa Kimani, do you believe that this bill, as it is currently presented, makes sense and would be acceptable to people of Kenya?
Let me tell you, and I like the conversation my brother is initiating. We have for once made sure that everybody, whether it is the person with a small business or the person with a big business, gets to pay their rightful share of tax. Because what we've been seeing is that only the 95% of our collections are paid by 5% of our population. So we have had a few companies or a few individuals paying taxes and everyone else evading it. And how are we curing it? For example, all the big tech, all the big companies, every time they'll get a tax invoice that they don't like, or they will try to exploit all the internal dispute mechanisms. But of course, they're just doing it for the sake of it. The objective is to go to court. We have cases in court that are ranging from as time ago as 2007. So you get a tax bill of 2 billion shillings, which you should pay. And because you don't want to pay, you make sure that the court process delays. So what are you doing about it? We're saying it's fine. If you have a dispute on tax, deposit 20% of the dispute amount. But let me make it even better. In the event that the court rules against KRA and for you, we have imposed in the law that GUK will have to refund your 20% within 30 days. So
at the end of the court process.
At the end of the court process. So in that case, it will be in our best interest, both yourself and as a businessman, and me as a taxman, first of all, to make sure that that case doesn't go to a court arbitration, for example.
Yeah.
Because we are trying our best to review and to retrain and to change the thinking of Kenya Revenue Authority so that we can become an authority that has a conversation. So we are doing that to make sure that it's a win-win situation. Then on the other hand, also you are guaranteed that once you get an award, then you're going to get your money back within 30 days.
Can I ask
we
a
have
question
around
on that
800, just a sec, we have around 845,000 registered companies in this country. Only 10% of them are paying tax. Most of them is that some of us that are very ambitious when we're in school and university registered companies. So you went to register a company 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
Never traded.
And because you never traded, then you never filed returns, then you find you have penalties and interest. And some of these also penalties and interest is some of the problems you're inheriting because you probably did some contract with the county government or the GUK and you got and they delayed in paying you. Or and therefore, you, even if, for example, you are able to pay your payee, then you still paid it late, so have interest and penalties. We've said for all those interest and penalties, which amount to 1.9 trillion shillings, as expected, it reads as how much you're supposed to collect from the public as tax debt. We're saying apply for amnesty. And as long as you have paid the principal amount, we're going to forgive you the interest and penalties. It has never happened in the history of this republic. We are, for the first time, we are offering a second chance to our businesses. We're saying that we can, a lot of, these people can't even get a tax compliance certificate, not because of a mistake of their own. Someone did work for the county government of Nairobi, then they have never been paid. But because it reads that there's a holding tax, which this company never remitted, it has not just a withholding tax, but interest and fines.
So I hear you saying
it has never happened in the Republic of Kenya. You're doing it for the first time now.
So in its entirety, Mheshimiwa, this bill is good.
In this discussion here, I'm going to show you the merits of it. And you, Senator here, is talking about the demerits of it. And you're hoping that when we talk about the merits and the demerits, we can have a conversation and say what is good. But I'm telling you, overall, this is the most progressive finance bill we've had for years.
It's a better deal than before.
It is a much better deal than
take a
what
break.
we've ever had.
And it's really on that what you've just talked about, the 20% deposit or worth of the tax dispute. What prevents KRA from employing this for mischief? KRA has been given a target to raise X amount of money by X quarter. And so they see that they are falling short of that, and they just tag all of us with some disputes. And they say, all right, so you either pay up or you deposit the 20%. If today they come to your company, Courier, you are a big poultry farmer, you're telling us the last time, and they come and say, you've not been paying one or two of these other taxes, and they say you owe us 10 million shillings. You're supposed to deposit 2 million shillings for you to kuanzia conversation. With that, in fact, you give them 2 million shillings, they hit their target, and then later the case can drop.
But I want to improve just your idea so they can respond to it together. Because basically the question you're asking is whether KRA becomes a toll station.
Yes.
Because you are saying every assessment that I do, you are immediately owing me 20%.
Just because.
The danger, even the danger, because you know when you're developing this kind of laws, you have to take it within your practicality as a country. The danger is actually that KRA official immediately becomes a shareholder in my company. Why? Because if everything that I say you owe, then what that's mean, instead of giving me 20%, boss, why can't you just give me 5%? I clear your books. That's what I was talking about. You must look at your laws, whether they are actually improving your collection mechanism. Because if a KRA official says that everything that you owe them, everything that they assess you owe them, then it basically means that companies will start having their specific KRA officials.
So it enhances corruption.
Yeah, it basically it's going to be the highest form of enhancement of corruption that is going to even derail tax collection, because a company would rather have their person paying, doing the assessment, they pay less, they avoid these court manenos. If you go to a criminal justice system, this thing even makes KRA more powerful than our courts, because the equivalence is this. Today, you get a Kenyan who has been accused of obtaining money by false pretense. Then you take them to the courts. Then when they get to the courts, immediately they are told, of the money we are claiming, you first of all do 20% of your your intended
as we handle
fine,
your case.
as we handle your case, or serve your 20% of jail as we handle your case. Doesn't make any single sense. And I want to hear what Kimani has to talk about this.
Interestingly, Senator, just the example that you used.
Yes.
If you are accused of obtaining money in false pretense and you go to court,
yes, you
actually have two options. If you have to be a free man, there's a cash bill or a cash bond or a bond that you need to give to show commitment that you're not going to commit to the cost. And this particular thing,
but by the time percentage,
it's not a percentage
of the amount.
Yeah, and it's not also prohibitive the access of justice.
Yes. And the last time I checked, it would depend on the gravity of the crime.
Exactly.
If the bigger the crime, then you could go to a percentage. We're just calling it potato. It's a different word for it. But the bigger the crime, then the more the cash bill, the more the bond. And if it was just a traffic offense, then you can actually go home on a free bond. And even if you were to use that analogy, then actually the Kenya Revenue Authority loses if you have to make a deposit of 20%, because their target is 100%. And this 20% that you have given to them, it is not an income. It's not an income to them. So it is not recognized as income. They cannot report that in their targets for that year to achieve this particular target. Because
let's take a break.
We got this 20%.
Let's take a break. But Mheshimiwa, streamline the system so that the courts do not, or this dispute does not last long. If you're trying to address the issue that the dispute is lasting long, streamline the system. Don't say that because you are disputing what I have told you, deposit money because you want to delay. But let's take a break. We'll be back.
I'll come to how we're going to streamline the system.
All right, 24 minutes to 8.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Oh my God, look at the curtains. Oh, and the shoes. Wow, my dream fridge. Oh.
What is it? My friend, you don't have money. Let's go.
Yes. I know what to do. The interest on my fixed deposit has matured to Songe Mbele na Kingdom Bank.
What is it about Kingdom Bank? Everyone is surprising me about this Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank move.
Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank. Kingdom Bank is now offering mid to long-term fixed saving with higher interest rates. Earn up to 10% interest from as little as 50,000 Kenya shillings on our fixed and core deposits. Enjoy variety of our great services including savings and junior savings accounts for your kids. Get return on your fixed investments today at Kingdom Bank. Songa Mbele na Kingdom Bank. Shop now for all you want. Talk to us on 0709
and at 16, sunny conditions in Nakuru, highs of 26, highs of 25 in a mostly cloudy Nyeri, and at 13, it's sunny in Eldoret, going to highs of 25. Mostly cloudy at 25 in Mombasa, highs of 31, and we'll see highs of 30 in a sunny Malindi at 26. At 20, it's mostly sunny in Kisumu, highs of 30, and it'll go to highs of 28 in a mostly sunny Kakamega at 17. It's 19 and sunny in Kampala, highs of 28, and at 26, Dar es Salaam is sunny, going to highs of 31. Johannesburg will see highs of 16, currently cloudy at 10, and Lagos raining at 26, will go to highs of 31. It's also raining in Kinshasa at 24, we'll see highs of 32. Okay, it's raining in some parts of the city this morning. It's going to slow down traffic in those areas. We're also looking at heavy traffic on the Thika Superhighway coming into the city, as well as on Jogo Road. It's also doing the same thing on North Airport Road, heading out towards Outer Ring. Are you in Westlands? If you're coming off Waiyaki Way, it's going to slow down just a tad as you're getting towards what was the Westlands roundabout. And okay, we're also looking at the entrance to the expressway and some of those exits causing some traffic, as well as folks are trying to get on. On James Gishore, it's busy in and outbound. And we're also looking at heavy traffic on the Thika Superhighway well beyond that Wiki Road Junction, as well as in both directions on Kiambu Road this morning. Traffic hour proper is where we are now. Let's know what's going on where you are. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Right, the conversation continues at 20 minutes to 8 with our two guests in this morning. Senator for Migori County, Eddie Gishero Okech. He's also a member of the Senate Finance and Budget Committee. And the Honorable Kuria Kimani, the chairman of the National Assembly Committee on Finance and National Planning. We are talking about the Finance Bill 2023. This one has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of conversation, unlike previous finance bills. Tells you Kenyans are woke. They read, they hear, they follow. Now, as we're talking about that, and we'll be talking about housing, let me tell you about another easier way of getting into home, owning a home, a more direct one. So walk to Two Rivers, you'll find houses being built by Centum Real Estate. Look around and see the ones that they're building. So close to whatever, close to proximity to health facilities, proximity to shopping center, proximity to children's play areas, proximity to hotels, proximity to everything. And then you see, okay, and then good roads leading into and out of there. Then you ask them, so I'd like to buy a unit. They tell you, possible, but I don't have all the money right now. They tell you, that's also okay. There's something called the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company. If you walk into your SACCO or your commercial bank, you can actually ask them, I'd like a KMRC loan to buy a house at Two Rivers. Then your bank will tell you, Sawa, we can give you a mortgage up to around 8%, less than 10%, all right? And you pay for up to 10 years or thereabouts. So your rent now becomes
your road to ownership.
Your road to ownership. See, that's more direct.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Mheshimiwa Kimani will tell us about the other one of the housing fund. But respond first to the issue that we're talking about with KRA and what Senator Okech is talking about, making it easier for them to collect tax.
Thank you very much. Let me tell you something that the business sector, and if you talk to any of the big institutions that produce or sell accessible goods, for example, they'll tell you about something called inflation adjustment. And they have tried to beseech government after government to take out inflation adjustment because they want a predictable business environment. You need to be sure that once we have the Finance Act into law, then at least you can have those rates of taxes, even if it's just for a year. And by the way, we are also coming up with a national tax policy. And hopefully then that we are actually even going to have a more predictable tax environment where we don't have again to change the rate of, we don't have to be worried about the rate of taxes every year. The inflation adjustment allowed the Commissioner General, even after the passage of the Finance Bill into Act, to change the inflation parameters, which consequently affected the amount of taxes that were payable by these businesses. We have taken that out. We have deleted that clause. There will no longer be an inflation adjustment. This is a huge win for our businesses. The small, the turnover tax we have expanded the bracket for turnover tax from 0.5 million to 15 million shillings a year. What does that mean?
And the percentage as well.
Yeah, we just go back to how it's supposed to be, because remember we had brought it down to 1.5% during COVID to support our businesses during COVID times, because nearly 60-70% of our business were closed at a particular time. Now they are open. The essence of this is that if I have a clothes shop, I sell clothes in town.
Yep.
And I sell 100, and my sales per month is 100,000 shillings. So per year is 1.2 million shillings. So 3% of 100,000 shillings is 3,000. It means if I just do a check to carry of 3,000, I have paid all my tax obligation.
For the year, for the month?
For the month. But this is 3,000 out of your sales of 100,000.
Yes.
If your sale is 1 million shillings, and there are quite a number of businesses that have sales of around 1 million shillings, and those are the ones, Senator Okech was saying, that are being prone to abuse by the existing tax system. Is if your sales per month is 1 million shillings, give us 3% of that is 30,000, and you're done. As in, that's all you need to do. You don't have to worry what is tax allowable and what is not. You don't have to allow what is deductible and what is not. You don't have to go through a complicated tax system. And once you do that, then you've done obligation.
In what category of obligation is the turnover tax? Because when you're filing and you're applying for obligations with KRA, you're either applying for an obligation of income tax or VAT. All these are the taxes. What do you apply for?
Most of our small businesses, or most of our, let me call them informal sector businesses, operate as a registered business name.
Yes.
You mostly go to Huduma Center and call it Undu Supplies.
Yes.
And then you go and open a shop. And you remember, these are the people that you didn't know what tax to pay for a very long time.
Yes.
Until now, the introduction of turnover tax. That's why we're saying, if you pay that 3%.
So you don't need to apply for any obligation with KRA?
You don't have to. You pay turnover tax.
Do you need an ETIMS?
You don't even need the what do you call it? The old what do you call it? The old we're calling it ETR, or what do you call
it?
You don't even need that system. But if the goods you're selling are vatable, that's the difference. If the goods that you're selling are vatable, is that the KRA is doing a new software system. Like it's not a physical system. It's just something you install on your laptop or your phone. And if you said, if that would mean that you have graduated to sell it,
and you will then have an obligation for VAT.
Yes.
However, Ndu Suppliers is supplying Okech's company with goods or services. Okay? at the end of the year, Okech will be wanting to claim because I have made this kind of turnover at the end of the year, and I need then to start deducting what my expenses have been. One of those deductions will be 1.2 million shillings that he paid to Undu. So then he can claim that this is part of my expenses for the company. The requirement is that whatever his invoice must correlate with Undu's invoice.
Certainly.
Undu did not issue an ETR invoice.
Yeah.
Because Undu is not registered for the income tax obligation. Now, here is the issue.
Yeah, Eric, let me give you a typical example. And I want to explain this so that you also see what you're trying to cure, where we're coming from. On a random Saturday, I'm in Molo and I hear conversations about ETR receipts. And they're like, well, kuna ngapi? In fact, I'm carrying a friend in Macallan Fuel, then I don't ask for the receipt because I don't I don't use a receipt for anything, so I don't ask for it. Then he says, no, nataka your receipt. So he actually asks for a receipt and then says, imefika 200 sasa. So I asked him, what is it about this receipts that you're collecting? And then he tells me that the receipts are to claim VAT.
Yep.
So you had people who were it was a big business. Like even people now having their own fake those machines ETRs. That are making those ETRs. What we're trying to change as a country is, I want to do. Okay, that's example one. Let me give a different example. Go to Luthuli Avenue here. Buy a television set or buy a phone. The first thing you asked, unataka na receipt ama unataka bila receipt. As a result, 16% VAT on electronics on a TV that costs 100,000, you have changed the cost by 16,000. Then the business opposite that wants to be compliant, you have competitively disadvantaged them by pricing your items 16% less. And what you're saying, Eric, here is, you see the way you will go to and ask for, whether it's a beer or something, and then some people you'll find will be keen to check whether it is legitimate or not, whether it is the right drink or not. We want to change that to the business sector, so that I do business with people that are paying their rightful share of tax, so that it's also good to me because it makes our businesses a level playing field. That if a particular product costs 200 shillings, it's going to cost 2,000 shillings, the same amount of money if we're selling it. So what's going to differentiate us is the quality of service. And that is the only way we are going to encourage a competitive business environment. But as long as we are allowing all these tax cheats, it doesn't matter how much hardworking Kenyans it doesn't matter how hardworking or innovative Kenyans are going to get.
Okay, Mheshimiwa,
they are still going to be disadvantaged.
We have about 10 minutes to go, and we must address these two issues, and I'm sure the Senator has questions on this. One, VAT, 16% VAT on fuel, and the impact that's going to have on the entire economy. And the second, of course, the housing fund. Senator, ask your question.
I was listening very well, and I just think that it is important that I caution my brother here on some sweeping statements when it comes to tax, because he has talked about something like excise duties and any excisable services. For every kind of proposal that this bill is making, there is another whole lot of mess. Because if you look at something like excise duty issues that we have in the country, Kimani is not telling you that this bill is telling us that for all excise duties, especially on things like betting and any other accessible services, you have up to 24 hours to pay, or the commission has got the discretion in this bill to be able to actually make gazette a notice that you pay within 24 hours. You see, for every tax decision that you make, a business makes a business decision. Because if you are telling me that for excisable services and goods, I have to pay within 24 hours, the administrative cost for that is extremely high for me. Like, think about lawyers, think about loans. Now, because loans are nowadays exposed to excisable duty. And think about the ripple effect that things like loans have in our economy. Because if I cannot be able to administer my loan as a bank effectively, basically I run out of that business. I will not be in the business of loaning people. I'll be in the business of deposit collections, and then I look at how do I trade with government, because it is more marketable to go for T-bills as well as bonds in government, and then suppress these businesses. And this is important because even if you go with that tax regime all the way to things like, right now they are targeting through this bill any adverts on TV, on radio stations, on billboards, and any adverts on print media.
Socials.
Yeah, that are looking at things like alcoholic beverages, gaming, lotteries, prize competitions. Prize competitions, is these competitions whereby you say buy one get one free, or if you win this, if you buy this, you win a trip to some places. The danger we start seeing is what you are pointing at. It's not just double taxation, but other multi-layered taxations. Because if you have added 15% on this brand of advertisement and something like prize competition, you have actually moved it from 7.5% to 20%. What does this mean to core businesses? And all core businesses, marketing is a bigger function in terms of employment. As little as if you go to grass company that is purely designed as a business to focus on marketing. 70% of the people they're employing there is all marketing. If you look at, there is a company in town here called House of Leather. All those people are about 40% of their employees are these hustler marketers. They work with billboards, and you see them around working. If you have increased something like price competition from 7.5% to 20%, then on the other side, you have introduced 15% of excisable duty that didn't exist in the first place. And then you're telling them, no, you just increased it by 12.5%. You're actually lying, because you have to look at the 15% plus the increase of 12.5%, and you come up with 27.5%. What does a business make decision at that point? The decision is that this advertisement is no longer viable for me as a business. You're not going to force me on whether I choose what is viable for me or not. This is no longer viable. Advertisement is no longer viable for me as an option. Therefore, I leave it. And that means grass company lays off all the hustlers that you're targeting to help. House of Leather cuts at least by 50% all its employees, because that is the rational business decision. Another equation that Kimani must understand is that you can't just randomly say people are cheating on taxes or people are not paying taxes at all. Therefore, I'm just going to introduce any tax where I want. For instance, you can't say today I'm going to tax Aziad for being an influencer online when you don't understand that landscape. The truth that is there is that the companies that you think are evading taxes are actually not evading taxes. The government has not taken chance to understand the tech companies they're talking about. Today, Meta, that owns Facebook and owns IG, their taxation framework and levies that they put on our businesses, the remittances that our businesses are doing, is based in Ireland. What happens with people like Saracen? Saracen ends up paying Meta in Ireland and they pay them in dollars.
Yeah.
Okay? What did Nigeria do by understanding the landscape? Nigeria said, the first thing is, you as Meta or Google, who is based in Ireland and are taking money from our corporates, first, can you take money in terms of shillings and not dollars? What does that convention bring? It invites you to register a company locally here. So when you register a company locally as Facebook or Google, then the government has got opportunity to take its corporate taxes from Facebook, because Facebook is giving so much turnover taxes to the US government and not paying our Kenyan government. You want to tax an influencer as low as Yard, which even if you look at, they don't form the biggest basis of taxpayers. When actually the companies that hire them or the companies that give them opportunity for digital content are the people you should be looking at. This is why I'm telling you that there's a big mismatch here. Now, very fast going to the housing issue because of time. The housing issue, Eric, ask yourself, today in Kenya, we have got a working population and a middle class that is over 15 million. If you look at our mortgage market, on aggregate, all the businesses that we have in the country and all the people working in the country is only 25,000 people. What is the problem there? The problem is not taxation. And the problem is not contribution to these funds. The problem there is a problem of pricing equation with regards to interest. Our country has got some of the highest interest of mortgage from 18% to almost 25%, depending on which bank you go to. But if you go to where mortgages are working like the UK, it's as low as 1% to 3%. These are the things you should be addressing. Because when you start talking about you want to give a hustler a house, even if this hustler was to save this, if a hustler who is probably earning 20,000 a month was to be deducted the 300 bob every month, even if you take 15 years, which is the average time for a mortgage to mature in Kenya, they will only have saved 416,000. The lowest cost of housing that they're developing right now is 2.5 million. In 15 years, how much will that household and how much will you be able to obtain with a saving of 416,000 in over 15 years? Doesn't make any sense. Solve what is making sense, because for a hustler, Eric, the pension for a hustler, do you know what a pension for a hustler is? Their children. If I educate my child, they'll buy me a house. Do you know the biggest loaner for a hustler? They don't understand. The biggest loaner is not hustler fund and is not the banks. The biggest lender, not loaner, the biggest lender to them is actually a kiosk, whereby they go and write their book every day, which means that they are more into the subsistence loaning market than thinking about housing.
Imagine our time is up. We've come to the top of the hour, Mheshimiwa. I really want to appreciate you coming. You have an opportunity to join us again before Monday, before people start having conversations.
Okay.
Please accept to come back.
That's fine. But perhaps in less than a minute, it's not just this hustler, 300 shillings saving that you have very well calculated gets 416,000. But if this fund is used collectively to build a house near this hustler, where he can pay the equivalent of his rent and own that house, that would be amazing. So saying your rent is 2,500 because you earn 20,000 shillings a month. You're going to have government houses next to where you live, and you're going to stop staying where you're staying and paying rent for houses not yours, and paying it and paying and having to own that house at the end of it all.
But have 150 years. 150 years.
Come for the next one.
Come back.
It's a minute after 8. Good morning.
Tumesema tunaondoa ushuru. Namba 2, ile mtungi mnanunua kuanzia mwezi wa 6. Hiyo mtungi itatoka shilingi 2,800 mpaka shilingi 500 ama 300.
Well, the president has now said that these may not be possible as the proposal will await the approval of Parliament. However, it asks Kenyans to expect quick relief through the removal of the 8% value-added tax on gas.
Kama tungepitisha hiyo mswada kutumia supplementary budget mwezi wa 6 ingewezekana. Lakini kwa sababu hatukupitisha, tutapitisha sasa katika budget yenyewe. Baada ya hapo hiyo gesi itapatikana.
Kutokana na mabadiliko haya utaomba Wakenya radhi.
Kwa nini?
Ambao walikuwa wanategemea kwamba ikifika
kwa nini? Wewe ndio huko na shida na mimi. Wakenya hawana shida.
Now, the county government of Kisumu has launched a job creation center at Gusii Stadium to help equip the youth with online skills that will enable them get jobs. The Ajiri Job Center was unveiled with the aim of opening avenues of employment for the youth who constitute a majority of the population and continue to struggle for training and employment opportunities. Speaking during the launch, Kisumu Governor Simba Arati said technological advancements had turned the world into a global village, and it was important to train the youth to embrace the uptake of new technology so that they can acquire skills that will enable them to cut a niche in the globe job market. And the governor of Uasin Gishu, Jonathan B, has said the approval of the 8 counties in Rift Valley and North Rift Economic Bloc is a big step, especially after the NORE bill was passed in the local assemblies. Speaking Trans Nzoia County, Governor B said the partnership will boost the local and even international business sector.
Kama NOREP tuko tayari sana tukuja pamoja kwa minajili ya mambo yetu ya uchumi. All these counties tumebarikiwa kwa kila njia. Kienda Trans Nzoia, hapa mko na mahindi, mko na matunda, mko na maziwa. Uasin Gishu tunaongoza kwa mambo ya ngano, tourism, sports. Kienda Nandi tena kwa maziwa, kwa cash crop. Kienda West Pokot kando na ng'ombe na mbuzi, pia tourism kule Turkana wako na nyama kupitia ng'ombe na mbuzi. Na mnasikia kwamba Eldoret tuko na international airport. Kuna ndege inakuja inaleta tu mitumba na vitu vingine hapa na hawana kitu ya kurudisha huko.
Now, 2 suspects have been arrested in connection with gang rape and robbery with violence incidents reported in Homa Bay County in the past month. Detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigation said they arrested the duo while headed to Kericho County, where they are believed to have been hired to commit murder and other atrocities. The two, identified as Philip Omolo and Dan Kuma, are suspected to be part of a gang of 7 that broke into a homestead in Lala Village, Arujo location in Homa Bay County, and gang raped a woman before escaping with household goods of unknown value. And National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula says the government will install a new and modern mill at Nzoia Sugar Factory in 2 weeks' time as a part of measures to revive the ailing company. Wetangula said the new mill to be installed in 2 weeks will stabilize the operations of the sugar factory and improve its crushing capacity. He regretted that the collapse of the factory had subjected farmers from the region to suffering as their main source of livelihood stalled. Wetangula was addressing mourners during the funeral service of Clement Wanyonyi in Kabushai constituency. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky held talks with German leaders in his first visit to the country since Russia's invasion, with Berlin offering emphatic support in the form of a huge new military package. Zelensky's trip comes as Kyiv is preparing a much-anticipated counter-offensive and follows a day of meetings in Rome with Italian leaders and Pope Francis. Ukrainian forces have been training troops and stockpiling Western-supplied munitions and hardware that analysts say will be key to reclaiming territory captured by Russia. Once accused of reticence in supplying military gear to Ukraine, Germany has since become a major contributor of tanks, rockets, and anti-missile systems. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
After 8 o'clock, and it continues in most parts. On Lunga Lunga, we're looking at in and outbound traffic. That's pretty heavy. Us coming off of Outer Ring and then going towards Jogo in the other direction. Langata Road is also still pretty busy. Where we're going to see the most of this morning is on the Thika Superhighway, and there's Cambu Road. It's all in all its glory, heavy traffic in and outbound. It's heading then towards Muthaiga Square. We're looking at quite some of it on Limu Road as well. Pretty heavy. James Gishoro doing that thing. It's going to spill over towards Waiaki Way. For now, the Red Hill Link Road looks good, so you might want to use that in terms of an option to get away from this traffic. Coming off of Waiaki Way. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter. Want to keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Minutes after 8, good morning. This is the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room. Have you walked into I&M Bank or have you talked to them and asked them, okay, nasikia mnapeana pesa kwa wingi, nataka pesa. What will they tell you if you just go and ask them?
They will say, okay, do you work somewhere? Yes. Do you have your payslip? Then you say, what? Yes. They'll say, you also have a letter from your employer? Then you will say, yes, I do. They look at those things and they'll say, please have a seat. Then they will ask you, how much do you want? And then you will say, they'll say, we can give that to you. Do you have a loan somewhere else? You will say, yes, I do. And they will say, we can buy that off and then still give you some more money. And then we'll only start charging you tenor from today. And then you will say, oh, what a wonderful world this is. They will give you your money. You will continue with life and you will pay in up to 8 years. And everybody will be very happy.
It's important to note that no other financial institution is doing what I&M Bank is doing, giving the largest unsecured personal loan, 10 million shillings. The other one there was another bank that was, I think, advertising last week. It was 6 million. I&M has gone all the way to 10 million shillings.
Yes, it has.
So imagine, you want to build a house, fine. You want to buy a piece of land, okay. Is it buy a vehicle? Whatever you want to do. Or is it some urgent project that you are thinking of, or maybe it's some school fees issues that you want to sort out. Whatever it is that you're thinking of, if it goes all the way up to 10 million shillings, from 50,000 shillings up to 10 million shillings, just walk into I&M Bank. And what they say is the personal unsecured loan means that you don't have to come with a logbook, with the title deed, with I don't know who, with a kidney, a liver, nothing. All you need to do is go and say, I am employed somewhere. Here's a letter from my employer. Here is my payslip. And they use that to assess. And they say, all right, so because of your payslip, because of the kind of income that you have, then you qualify for a loan of up to X amount of money. Okay? And then they tell you, you can actually pay this back within 8 years.
Yes.
8 years. So, walk into I&M Bank today or call them 0719 088 000. That's 0719 088 000. Shortly, we'll be posting that question on social media so we can then start rewarding somebody. For 5,000 shillings, just tell us that pressing issue that you have right now that you think 5K can sort me out. And actually, up to 10 million shillings, if I went to I&M Bank today, I'll be sorted out. And with that, we'll pick one winner and we'll give them 5 Gs. Maradat. Hivo. Our next guest is the president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Richard Ngatia. He's running a bit late. As he gets here, we'll be talking about how Kenya can boost the economy through trade relations and what is happening in terms of trade and how we can then look at our trade and our trade lines. Okay? Manufacturing is a big thing in this country. Manufacturing was at some point contributing about 9% to Kenya's GDP. One thing led to another, things not working well. It actually dropped up to 7.8% right now. It's contributing 7.8%. But the whole idea is, can we ramp it up? Can we take it to 10% and beyond? Can we actually take it to 20%? And what they have discussed, the manufacturers and the Kenya Commerce Administration, is how about we target that manufacturing contributes 30% of Kenya's GDP by 2030. And that's why they call it the 20 by 30. So how about manufacturing contributes 20% of Kenya's GDP by 2030? Our GDP in 2023 is 13 trillion shillings. What's our GDP going to be like in 2030? It's definitely going to be more than 13 trillion shillings. Let's say it's at 20 trillion shillings. What is 20% of 20 trillion shillings? 4 trillions.
Of 20 trillion, yeah. 20% is 4 trillion.
4 trillions like that being contributed by manufacturing sector. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done on all these fronts. And this is where the ministry called MITI comes in. The Ministry of Industrialization, Industry, Trade and Investment also comes in. And as Richard Ngatia comes, we'll have that conversation. In the meantime, just listening to what Kuria Kimani was explaining and what Senator Okech was also explaining, the issue of the finance bill it's a hot one. And the issue that we didn't discuss today, those two, VAT on fuel, taking it up to 16% on petrol, diesel, and then also the housing fund. And getting people to understand what exactly this is all about. Seeing all the comments that are coming in on social media. And people saying, hey, wait, why? Why are you coming to take more, and then it's going to cost me more to buy things because VAT has gone up on fuel products?
Yeah, so I mean, it is a sticky situation, and it goes without saying that as soon as you have something like that, because essentially fuel is the fuel that runs everything, and that you have to then use it to have many things done, because you have to and so folks are asking sometimes, when you talk about a rise in fuel prices, how does that really affect? Well, okay, here it is. If you have a rise in fuel costs, what does that mean? That if you are trying to get, for example, your product from farm to market, that you're going to have to spend more to be on the road. You're going to have to spend more to get from point A to point B. And that means that the cost of this particular good or service cannot cost the same if there had not been a price increase. But now there is on fuel that you would use to take you from one place to the next. So you will bear the brunt of all of this. If a bread loaf costs 20 shillings and there was more fuel or rather, you had to spend more to get fuel, to move your vehicles, to move, your raw materials, you're going to have to put that cost on the end product. And you then, who is purchasing it, will have to spend more in order to have it. If there is an increase of fuel, you who is using transport, putting it in your vehicle, getting on public service, however you choose to define what that is and how it exists in Kenya, is that you are going to have to produce more shilling in order to take the normal ride that you do. And because of that, other things that are going to increase. There is no running away. It doesn't matter where you look. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you use. There is no running away from the effects of an increment in fuel. You cannot. You will spend more. You will be affected more. It doesn't matter what sector you are in. It will affect you. And so the question of how then do you navigate these waters then becomes very important. And then, is it a responsible decision being taken by any government at any day to increase the cost of the very thing, essentially, that runs everything else in your economy? Can you do that? Cost of power is something that must be taken into consideration when you're looking at creating a conducive environment on which your citizens and their livelihoods will run. That's your job.
That's the thing.
That's your job.
The president said, all right, in addition to increasing the 8% of VAT to fuel, now raising it to 16%, they're also proposing to remove and reduce some of the other levies.
Okay.
You see the levies that are in petroleum. Let's just start. So mafuta sasa imepanda. Here is the landed cost of this product is actually 101 shilling. Okay? This is the landed cost of super petrol. How much are we going to buy it at? The retail price in Nairobi is 182 shillings. It landed at 101 shillings and 83 cents.
Yes.
You will buy it at 182 shillings and 70 cents. I want you to do the math and tell me how much is going into all these things called fuel, taxes and levies.
81 shillings.
Yes. So a lot of it is going into that. So let me break it down to you, those 81 shillings. There's one thing called the product cost. Okay? The product cost is pipeline transport from Mombasa to Nairobi. You pay 2 shillings and 53 cents. And then you pay delivery within 40 kilometers of Nairobi, 54 cents. And then there's 76 cents for depot losses. And there's 10 cents for pipeline losses. And all that comes to a total of storage and distribution cost is 3 shillings and 93 cents. Okay? Then there is the oil marketing company's margin, which is pegged at 12 shillings and 39 cents. On top of that, now let's come to the levies. Levy number 1, levy number 2, levy number 3, they'll come to 64 bob. There is excise duty, 21 shillings and 95 cents. There is road maintenance levy, 18 bob. There is petroleum development levy, 5 shillings and 40 cents. There is petroleum regulatory levy, 25 cents. There is railway development levy, 1 shilling and 96 cents. There is merchant shipping levy, 3 cents. There is import declaration fee, 3 shillings and 43 cents. There's VAT at 8% is 13 shillings and 53 cents. Total 64 bob. Now the president is saying, okay, so this VAT is going to double. It's instead of 8%, it's going to be 16%. So it goes to, instead of 13.53, it goes to about 27 bob. But then he's removing he's reducing IDF. He's removing some of these levies, reducing some of the levies. The net effect, of course, is not an equivalent of the 8% VAT that has gone, but it is
a bit of a reprieve.
A bit of a reprieve.
Okay.
That's the argument. We will see how this one is handled by the committee of the National Assembly. Some of these are the issues that to talk about. When you say tax has gone up, what are the components of this tax? When the VAT on fuel goes up, what does that do to your cost of power? Does it also go up? Is it impacted? Because remember, there is the fuel component in your electricity
bill.
Higher. Our guest has arrived, is in the studio. Richard Ngatia is the president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Good morning, Richard.
Oh, good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, you first must explain or even apologize for being late.
Yes, let me apologize. Today we have a visitor all the way from Colombia, and so we were doing a brief to the leadership, so that's why I'm late. My apologies.
Karibu.
Sana.
Okay. I'll welcome you with the day's proverb. Today's proverb is a proverb from Botswana, and it says, "A man's friends are as many as his enemies." A man's friends are as many as his enemies. This is from Botswana. What's your interpretation of it?
A man's friends
are as many
as
his enemies.
As his enemies.
What do you think the people of Botswana say?
Botswana, they're good friends. Yes, we have friends, many friends. It's a country that is a friend to Kenya. And yes, it's a country we want to do business with. Yes.
This proverb, what's your interpretation?
I don't know. I can't.
If we take with the interpretation of our previous guests this morning, think of the number of friends that you have. Okay? Those friends will tell you, some of them will tell you the truth as it is. Some of them will, mask the truth. Okay? Then you also have people who are enemies. How do you identify enemies? They may also come from the people who are your friends.
It's very difficult to identify an enemy. Let me say that. But of course, you'll know an enemy who doesn't give you the truth, doesn't work with you, or there are those enemies who are really close to you. All right, and there are times when they'll backstab you.
True.
Yes.
Well, those friends who will. Those friends
who will backstab you.
So maybe there's an enemy in every friend.
That's it. Kikulacho. Kingoni mwako.
Yes.
KNCCI, Richard. What is the mandate of KNCCI?
Purely to support the private sector, particularly the membership of the organization, to have a conducive environment to do business. The mandate of KNCCI is to advocate for businesses, is to make sure that we seek opportunities for our members, is to make sure we have an inclusion within the chamber is to make sure we support our members on financial inclusion as well.
What's the difference between the chamber? It's a membership organization, isn't it?
It is.
So people subscribe to be members
They
of
do
the
subscribe.
chamber.
Yes.
What's the difference between the chamber and the KEPSA?
The difference between the two, one, the chamber is a family of the World Chamber Federation, which is a family of 177 chambers across the globe, and also the International Chamber of Commerce. We, as the chamber, actually focus on SMEs, small, medium entrepreneurs. We also focus on the micro. And when you look at our structures in the country, we are across the entire country within the 47 counties. That is the difference with other BMOs. Other BMOs will probably be in Nairobi, while we, as the umbrella, will be able to look at issues pertaining inclusion and finance and business environment across the entire country and the globe as well.
How long have you been president now?
It is now about 3 years, 8 months, 7 months.
How long is the tenure?
The tenure is normally 3 years. If you remember, during COVID, there was a huge disruption in terms of business, conducting business, and therefore the chamber AGM actually held a meeting during the AGM and gave a provision where they gave about a year just to mitigate the problems that were there and the loss of time. And that is why we have that difference. And so, but now it has come to, the time has come to an end. It's coming to an end on the 8th of June. And since 2019, on the 10th of June, that's when we were appointed and elected.
Okay. There's a lot of talk right now. There's a lot of chatter about having the economy boosted. Kenya's economy going through problems here and there, not doing enough to drive the economy, or the things that were done to drive the economy previously have not been working. All of this is flying in the face of inflation, and it is obvious that the call is there to be able to lift Kenya's economy from where it currently is to a place where it's, number one, fast-paced, number two, it's competing with other economies in the world, and then finally, it is in strategic partnerships with other economies in the world to make things happen. How can this actually happen with what we currently see, with the state of things today? How can those three things happen through this forum to guarantee that Kenya has a standing?
I think one of the things that we as Kenya must do is to look at how we can be able to support our exports. That is number one. We need to look at how we can be able to integrate and link with other countries across the globe. And having said that, we as the chamber are very keen in making sure that we link our members to international opportunities, making sure that we go out there and look for opportunities to increase our exports, particularly in the products that we pride with. For example, tea, coffee, macadamia, nuts, oil. We need to see as many exports as possible. Looking at foreign direct investments as well, we need to see how do we make sure that we have as many foreign investors in this country who pitch tent in this country, who partner with the private sector here, one, to manufacture, two, to transfer technology and skills. And so that way then we'll be able to get into, for example, any other market globally, but most importantly within the African countries, the 54 countries that have signed the tripartite.
Okay. I'd like to really look here in Kenya, and you talk about the presence in all 47 counties.
Yes.
To make sure that there's certain things that are being done, meet the muster in terms of manufacturing at the very basic. And I'm just going to go back in history a little bit. When we looked at the Industrial Revolution, which kickstarted in Great Britain, it was the move from tools that were mechanized, and so you could go beyond using hands. And what that did was that it boosted economies. Unprecedented until today. Nobody's really ever caught up. If we are looking at some of those industries in Kenya today, what's being done to secure them? First of all, before we even think about a product that can now compete on a global scale, what's being done to secure some of these industries to guarantee that you have product protection of workers and things like that? I'll just think molasses in Kisumu. I'll think cashew in Kilifi, where you were a couple of months ago, and we're told those industries have died, they're dead. What's being done to revive some of those? What's being done to ensure that proper manufacturing requirements are being set up and maintained? For me, those seem like prerequisites before you can even start to discuss about being on a global scale.
All right. We have seen the interventions by the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. One, to secure manufacturing plants, for example, industrial parks, special economic zones, export processing zones. This way, then you're able to attract not only foreign direct investors, but attract local investors and manufacturers within those zones, where they also get incentives by the same government. And when I talk of incentives, I'm talking of tax regimes. How are you able then to balance and to control the tax so that you're competitive with other neighboring countries, and so that you can be able to do that? We have seen the zones that we do have in the country. Many people, many companies are already taking space in those zones. All right? And so, yes, in terms of securing the industries and the manufacturing plants, that is being done. We want to look at also how do we then improve value addition. All right? That is very key, and that way you'll be able to secure the agricultural sector, for example. If you look at China, they were very big in cottage industries, and they were able to support the small farmers. Here in Kenya, I think that is one model that we should use to support the local farmers, the small farmers, to secure cottage industries before they get even to these industrial parks. Number two is to see how do we work with aggregators who will then be able to support those who are in those manufacturing plants, those who will be able to push out the product and market the product and collect from those farmers probably who may not have enough logistical tools.
Let's take a break and then we continue the conversation shortly. I'd like to understand what can be done, like you've just said, to grow our cottage industries and what kind of support they would need to be able to access the markets.
Yes.
Very many deals have been signed by Kenya with other markets. We have access to the European market, to the UK. We are having negotiations now with the US for greater access. But right now, we already have access through AGOA to the American market, which is quota-free and favorable. But how are we taking advantage of all these things, and what is the chamber doing? 29 minutes to 9, Richard Ngatia is the president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We are talking this morning about how Kenya can boost the economy through trade relations and the job that the KNCCI does on this, and what then we can all think in terms of that. Two Rivers is the place to go to today and then find Centum Real Estate and ask Centum Real Estate, nasikia mnajenga nyumba hapa. They'll tell you, oh yes. In fact, they'll take you around. The apartments they're coming up with and Two Rivers, very good quality, high standard apartments. They'll show you from the studio to 1-bedroom to 2-bedroom apartments. Choose the one you want and then tell you, unataka kununua, and it's easy for you to buy.
Just like that.
Just like that. They say, in fact, if you're a member of a SACCO, you have an account, go to your bank and ask them, do you have the Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company deal? If you do, I want a loan. And KMRC, basically, like we've talked about before, is this institution that is owned by several commercial institutions in the country, banks and SACCOs, and supported by the World Bank, by Shelter Afrique and others, and the government of Kenya. And the job is for them to be able to help people access mortgage at sub 10% interest for as long as beyond 10 years. Now imagine, walk into go to a bank, take a KMRC loan, walk into Two Rivers and say, I want to purchase a house, and now you start converting the rent that you're paying now, becoming your journey towards home ownership.
Love it.
This is the way to go. Back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Oh my God, look at the curtains. Oh, and the shoes. Wow, my dream fridge. Oh.
What is it? My friend, you don't have money. Let's go.
Yes, yes, yes. I know what to do. The interest on my fixed deposit has matured to Songambele na Kingdom Bank.
What is it about Kingdom Bank? Everyone is surprising me about this Songambele na Kingdom Bank move.
Songambele na Kingdom Bank. Kingdom Bank is now offering mid to long-term fixed saving with higher interest rates. Earn up to 10% interest from as little as 50,000 Kenya shillings on our fixed and call deposits. Enjoy a variety of our great services including savings and junior savings accounts for your kids. Get return on your fixed investments today at Kingdom Bank. Songambele na Kingdom Bank. Shop now for all you want. Talk to us on 0709 881300 for more information. Terms and conditions apply. Kingdom Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
I have a brother. He was a pilot. He was laid off. He came to a policeman. He messed up.
He went from a pilot to a policeman.
Exactly.
He stole a jet.
Yeah.
In fact, you should be lucky he was not court-martialed.
The Spice Drive. Big hair and the biggest hits from the best decade.
And a bit of a drizzle in Nairobi, highs of 24 today, and we'll see highs of 26 in a sunny Nakuru, mostly cloudy at 17 in Nyeri, and sunny at 17 in Eldoret. At 26, it's cloudy in Mombasa, and we'll see cloudy conditions through Malindi, currently at 24. Mostly sunny conditions at 22 in Kisumu, and it's 20 and sunny in Kakamega. At 21, sunny conditions in Kampala, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 31 in Dar es Salaam, where it's sunny at 27. At 10 degrees, it's partly sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 16, and we'll see highs of 31 in Lagos, where it's still raining at 26. It's cloudy now at 24 in Kinshasa. It'll go to highs of 32. All right, traffic on Langata Road has built up this morning, and we're looking at that connecting with Uhuru Highway out towards the CBD. It's also heavy coming off Gong Road a little bit as you get towards that roundabout, right, at Haile Selassie, getting into the CBD as well. James Gishuru still pretty busy, and Waiaki Way as well. Limuru Road, looking at Kiambu Road and the Thika Superhighway. Traffic is the heaviest in those areas, as well as North Airport Road heading out to Outer Ring. Keep an eye on things. Where are you stuck this morning? If you are, if you're not, yay. If you are, let us know, and we'll see about another route. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Continues with Richard Ngatia, the president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, talking about how we can boost the economy through trade relations. Richard, we are already members of the EAC. There's the EAC Common Market Protocol. We are members of COMESA, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa. We are, of course, among the founder members of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We have signed deals with the European Union, with the UK. We're in negotiations with the US, but we already have AGOA. So we have access to very many markets. And like you said, it's about promoting our access to those markets and enabling the Kenyan manufacturers to take goods into those markets. But then you also mentioned something about how then we can develop and support the local manufacturer. Cottage industries, the example that you gave with China and what happened. How much support do we have for our cottage industries so that they can get better at what they're doing, they can get better and improve technologies, and they can also get tax reprieve? So it's not only a foreign investor who can come and go into a special economic zone or an export processing zone to get this tax reprieve, but also a Kenyan cottage industry can enjoy these benefits. Do they do that?
We still need to do a lot to support this industry. One, in terms of skill transfer. We need to do a lot of capacity building, a lot of trading to make sure that they understand value addition. Today, if you're looking at exports, you have to value add. And I'll tell you why. For example, you've mentioned about the EU. You've talked about the AGOA. We are looking at about 6,000 products. Today, as a country, I think we are only exporting about 160, 170 products in Kenya. What happens to the rest of the products? So we need to look at how do we partner with certain countries on value addition, for example, and capacity buildings. How do we enhance the technology within cottage industries and within the industrial parks or the special economic zones? For example, today we have a delegation from Bogota, and this is after I visited Bogota about 2 months ago, and I met the private sector. They're very keen in working with Kenya. Their coffee is one of the best, I think is the best in the world. And so how can we be able to partner with them in terms of exports? One is to value add our coffee. That way we'll be able to get as much access to the AGOA market. One, because of course, the agreement that is there between the both countries, Kenya and the US. There are certain products that are duty-free, tax-free. And so if we are able to partner with Colombia, definitely we are going to be able to get and access this market. We are looking at also tea, we are looking at oil, we are looking at different other products within the agricultural sector. And so value addition is one of the key areas that we need to look at. Also to look at the infrastructure as well, logistical issues in terms of cooling systems. How are we able to support that local farmer or to place their products in a certain warehouse where they can be able to either sell from that warehouse, which is cooled and well protected, or they can be able now to move their products from there to export, to the export market. And by partnering with such countries who have the expertise, it will be easy for them because they will be able to move it to the exit points, airports, and also they'll be able to be assisted in terms of marketing the product out of this country. So that is one area that I feel then they can be supported, of course, and to grow that sector.
Can I hold and stay on AGOA just a little bit more, because I think it does present an opportunity for trade in many African countries, probably that very little else does. The potential capacity that it presents, there are very few other agreements that do that. It was established 23 years ago.
Yes.
And we are saying that today we are still developing mechanisms, still developing infrastructure that will then allow Kenya and other countries to trade on this platform. Why? is my question. That at this point, this platform that has been created to allow countries then certain things then be done. So you're releasing of some trade laws, you're loosening on some of those tight requirements between nations to say that let's make it a little bit easier for us to trade amongst ourselves so that everybody's economy then has an opportunity to either compete or at least, be sovereign in and of itself. But it seems we're still developing, and I understand that, you get better as you go along, but I still feel as though we have not gotten to the place where we need to be able to use this platform at its potential. And my question is why? Because I want so much for nations to be able to get to their potential capacity, but something seems to stop us from getting there, and I do not understand what that is.
All right. Earlier on this year, the head of state of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. Samoei Ruto, actually led a delegation and he's part of his cabinet to the US. And one of the things were to discuss areas of opportunities within the US and also marketing our country, Kenya. Now, while we were there as a private sector, it was clear that we as Kenya need to be capacity built in terms of meeting standards that are required. The requirements sometimes are quite high that the Kenyan business people will not be able to meet. And therefore, it is important for us to keep having conversations with regulators to see how best we can be able to meet these standards. This Wednesday, I have invited exporters and importers across the country to meet all the regulators, including Kenya Revenue Authority, Kenya Bureau of Standards, and many other regulators in the country, to have a conversation and see how do they mitigate those problems that are there. Sometimes they will say there are certain products that are attracting duties and you're exporting. So they are shy to export those products. There are times some exporters may not have insurance packages. They end up losing their products either on the high seas or once it gets to the end user. So there are certain things that we need to meet, to discuss and see how best we can be able to get and meet the opportunities that are there in those countries.
I'm curious, could you give me an example of what some of those things are? When you say that Kenya, for example, not able to meet the standards or what the standard requirements of this act to then be able to trade on this.
Yes, for example.
What's one of those?
Yes, for example, let's say avocado. All right? There is a requirement of avocado that you need. How, in terms of the number of months, yes?
Yep.
In terms of how it has been packed, all right? And of course, how traceability, they want to see the traceability of that product. Some of these members may not be able to understand, and this is why we keep saying we have to meet with the regulators so that they can make them really understand what, because the European Union or even the American market, they will not reduce the standards for sure. No. It is for us to up the game. And so this is the reason that we need to continuously have these meetings and have these discussions with these institutions so that they can be able to support.
What makes it difficult for, let's say, the Kenyan farmer to actually meet this standard?
Cost of production is a big problem.
Explain.
Cost of production.
With the example of avocado, for example.
With
the example of avocado.
Of avocado.
Yes.
Cost of production means by the time you're growing, there's the fertilizer, there's the tools of working, there is packaging, all right? The value.
Transport and storage.
Yes, and all logistical issues. Cost of that product. By the time you get it out of the country to the end user, you find you're not making any profits, all right? And the losses, again, are huge because you don't have the cooling systems to transport between your farm to the port of exit.
Yeah.
That is another problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
What can be done to improve on this? Because I hear a lot of these conversations that we keep having, and a lot of it focuses more on FDI And it sounds to me like we have little faith in ourselves, in our own capacity. You give the example of China. You've just given the example of the visiting delegation from Colombia. Those Colombians, how did they get to the level where we want to tap from them? They developed themselves.
Yes.
They believed in themselves. They got the support from the various agencies, and they developed their capacity. Why don't we do the same? Why do we need to say, let's bring in a foreign investor to come and set up here and employ us, and then we shall learn from them?
Actually, this is now being done by the current government. We have seen the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. We have seen the CS walking around and I mean, moving around different countries to try and tap the technology and bring it back here. Getting agreements and bringing them back here. We have seen them very keen and emphasizing on common user facilities. This is very important for any, whether it's a manufacturer, whether it is a producer. It is very important to have that common user facility. That means that anybody can be able to get into that space and be able to market their products from that space. Having said that, we have also seen him going to several countries. For example, in the UAE or in China, in Germany, to try and get also the same warehousing so that you can be able to export your products into that warehouse, and actually you can be able to sell your products on consignment in that market. So that now supports moving out as many products as possible.
I sometimes get the feeling that it may not necessarily be that the lack of wherewithal supersedes the desire or the decision to just get it done. For me, I think that sometimes we say, well, we don't have the expertise and we don't have this and it's a little bit more expensive. But there's actually something that we can do. Because honestly, 23 years down the line, we're having some of the same conversations that we were having 10 years ago. These things that we're talking about now, about weakened capacity and lack of infrastructure and the cost of... I'll give you an example of a young lady in Kenya who goes around the country collecting mangoes that did not make it at the grade.
Yes.
She takes those mangoes and she deskins them and she dries them, she dehydrates them, and she exports dried mango. That's all she does. Doesn't buy a fresh mango for anything. Actually goes and picks them up from where they've been discarded. She's got her own plant and it's a product of Kenya. One individual who's doing that. For me, that gives an example of the possibility of doing these things. And so I sometimes see it as the lack of the decision to get it done is superseding the availability of this infrastructure that we've been complaining about for 23 years.
Right, I want to agree with you. And I want to say that in that case, what then is the government doing to support that investor in terms of sustainability? Because she has started an initiative which is quite impressive, but how will she be able to sustain that moving on to the next couple of years? You get? So we need our government, and we really advocate and emphasize that the government must support the private sector in terms of infrastructure, not to compete with the private sector. Let them put the infrastructure for us, for the private sector. That way, then business will be sustainable. Let them look at the tax regime so that it is not unpredictable. The person who is selling the products, as you're saying, she has done her best in terms of value addition. Let them support the value chain, all right? And from there, then the government must come in to say, look, if the problem would be, for example, the predictability of taxes, what are we saying? If today that same person is exporting goods at a tax of, or importing any goods at a tax or duty of about 10%. And by the time the goods come in 3 months by sea, and you find that, again, the tariff has changed. Which means the duty has been taken to 25%. So how do you make your profits? How do you continue with that business? You find yourself then again collapsing. So there is sustainability that is very important.
Sure. So let's imagine and step into the ideal for a moment and say that you then had a government that was thinking along these lines. And if we're talking about the tax infrastructure, for example, and we're ready and willing to say, you know what, as taking up the responsibility of the job that is actually yours to make a conducive environment for business to thrive, for things like export on the international level to thrive, and say, let's do that. And now is ready to do that, touch your head, cross your chest. That actually happens. Are we saying then that these industries, pockets where they would exist, then would be ready to go?
Yes.
That's the only thing that's then holding them back?
Well, it's not the only thing, but you support from one line, support to the next, and then make it inclusive and easy to do business. So that, well, what I'm saying is tax is one of the things, right, that probably needs mitigation in terms of importers and exporters.
Yeah.
The other one is standards. There's support of the value chain. There's capacity building in terms of skills.
Yeah.
All right. Tools of working. Right. Yes. To make sure the business environment is conducive.
It's conducive for everybody.
For everyone.
Who do you think, Richard, should benefit? For instance, right now, the administration, in its budget proposals, is proposing to spend close to 5 billion shillings putting up industrial parks in all the 47 counties.
Yes.
There's been talk of the special economic zones. We have the EPZ, right? Who should be getting first priority in setting up in these industrial parks and in the special economic zones? And I'm asking this from the context of how you said how we can spur this growth from cottage, small, as they grow. Should we be saying that we have established now this industrial park, county government of Makueni, go and look for somebody who can come and set up a factory that can sort out our mangoes? Or should we say that a Makueni person gets first priority if they have good business proposal to get into the special economic zone?
First and foremost, the government is responsible in putting up the infrastructure. For the investor, it must be plug and play. Come to the zone, all the infrastructure has been done, and you're ready actually to start your business. The only thing you need to get is your license to continue with that business. So if you look at across the 47 counties, if we have a special economic zone in every county, and I believe now they're quite many, but they need to be operational, all right? It's a matter of attracting investors. That investor doesn't have to be in Makueni, like you said. Yeah. Look at, for example, the Kenya Meat Commission here, which is within Machakos. They're doing a lot of business.
Indeed.
I mean, this is Kenya. The other day we went with the leadership of Machakos to DRC, and already they're negotiating moving out beef, canned beef, to DRC Congo. And so we need to see how best can we be able to support and make sure that the economic zone, special economic zone, is ready for the private sector to move in and do their business. And so this will encourage even the local investors here, the business people here, will be able to go to that zone and get all the incentives that are provided for. Whether it is to sell locally, whatever you manufacture or produce, 20%, try and increase that amount from 20% to maybe 30% to be sold locally. The rest now to the region and exports.
Still, the same issue of how to support them. There has always been the issue of course, tax and tax rebates, right? Yes. So when a foreign investor is coming into the country, they get a tax holiday. When a Kenyan investor thinks and comes up with the idea, they don't get a tax holiday. Is this fair?
I think what we as the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce have been doing is to advocate for startups, for example, to get what we call a tax holiday of about even 5 to 7 years to make sure that startup is able to carry on with their business. They are sustainable. They have been able to learn on how to continue with their business. And probably in the 7th year, then you can look at now taxing the company or that startup. And so that is one area that we should be supported, actually.
If you look at the last 3 years of your tenure as president of KNCCI, and even before that you are a member, but let's just concentrate on your leadership as KNCCI.
Right.
What can you chalk down as this is the major thing that we have done that is supporting local industry?
One is to make sure that we support them on issuing them with certificates of origin, automated, the issuance of certificates of origin.
Why is that important?
It is important because you'll be able to apply online. You don't have to walk to our offices. You apply online, we issue you the certificate. It is a requisite, it is a requirement from the end user. In other countries, you must have that certificate to authenticate that the product is made in Kenya, it is original, and we have been able to ascertain that it is as the chamber. It's actually across all the chambers worldwide. We have to do that. Secondly, is to make sure that there is inclusion, financial inclusion as well. To make sure that our members, we have been able to tap into partnerships with development partners, with the national government, with the county governments, and the financial institutions through MOUs that we sign. For example, with the financial institutions, we have the Kenya Bankers Association, and through that, we have worked very closely with different banks. For example, Equity Bank, where they have been able to support training of about 35,000 members of the chamber in terms of financial literacy, and that way then they're able to access funds almost immediately. We have APSA, who is really supporting women. They have been able to disburse almost 6 billion Kenya shillings across the country, and those are members, again, of the chamber. We have seen other partnerships, Kenya Commercial Bank, again, supporting foundation, supporting our members. And so looking also at with development partners, we have seen many programs where we have supported women, we have supported youth, we have supported the micro. This is Mama Mboga, Boda Bodas, the hawkers, Mama Fish. All this have been supported in terms of finances, short-term loans that we don't ask for any collateral. There's no interest, and so we work in partnership with fund managers who are able to support them on these short-term loans. And we also look at the interests of Muslims as well, where they don't pay as well any interest. And so these are programs that we have been able to bring in place in the last 3 years as well. In terms of economic diplomacy, again, we have been able to move out to very many countries, signing MOUs and bringing opportunities to our members, disseminating the information and the opportunities to other counties.
Richard, thank you very much, and we wish you all the best as you complete the tenure and maybe you seek for a new term. All the best.
Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Of course, looking forward, I'm defending my seat, and we have no doubt in my mind we are moving on very well. But we're still in the office, we're still working, and we hope for the best.
Asante.
Thank you.
Richard Ngatia is the president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Aimed at boosting existing bilateral ties between the two countries. The visiting vice president will be hosted by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and the two leaders are set to explore various ways to strengthen the relations enjoyed by the two nations. Kenya and Colombia have enjoyed warm and cordial relations since 1967, when the two countries established initial relations. The vice president's maiden visit to Kenya is set to reinforce the ties as the countries look to improve trade and increase bilateral exchanges in various fields of mutual interest. The Vice President's visit follows a memorandum of understanding on political consultation signed by the two countries in 2021, whose main objective is enhancing the partnership and engagements existing between them. And Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has called for collaboration between the national and county governments to establish early cancer detection mechanisms in order to save lives. Speaking in Mathira, Nyeri County, Gachagua eulogized the parish priest Richard Kabuthi, who succumbed to cancer a week ago. He noted that the cost of accessing cancer treatment has left many families impoverished, and there is need to have a proper screening mechanism in the country for early detection to save lives. He called on the collaboration of national and county governments in the fight against cancer, proposing that each county should have a PET scanner. According to data from the International Agency for Research in Cancer in 2018, there was an estimated 47,887 new cases of cancer annually, with the majority of 32,987 mortality rate. The High Court in Mombasa is expected to make a ruling today on the closure of Pastor Ezekiel's bank accounts in the Milivani Court. Judge Olga Sewe asked for time to give a decision after listening to both sides. She also ordered Ezekiel's charge to remain open while the decision is awaited. Ezekiel's accounts were closed after the Milivani Court in Nairobi gave permission for DCI detectives to investigate the accounts. And unions and societies within the health sector have issued a 60-day ultimatum to the government to reopen negotiations into their collective bargaining agreement, sign and implement, or they down their tools. According to the unions, the government has failed to honor the binding terms of the return to work deal it struck with the clinical officers in 2017. The health workers drawn from the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, the Kenya National Union of Nurses, the Kenya National Union of Pharmaceutical Technologists, the Kenya Health Professional Society and the Kenya Union of Nutritionists and Dietitians noted that the government had failed to honor the binding terms of the CBA even after it gave ample time. The union representatives are now calling on the Ministry of Health and county governments for fair remuneration and reasonable working conditions across all health facilities in the country. Due to this, the union claims many skilled health workers immigrate to other countries in search for better terms and pay, making our health system fragile. And the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the police in Bungoma County, has asked residents to donate blood to save the lives of sickle cell anemia patients and road accident victims. Chief Pediatrician Deacon Sulubanga said Bungoma County has lost sickle cell patients due to lack of blood. Bungoma County Police Commander Francis Koholi appreciated those that donate but urged more Kenyans to donate blood in order to save lives.
Tumekuwa na wagonjwa wengi zaidi ambao wanahitaji damu, lakini kwa sababu kumekuwa na hiyo upungufu ya damu, wengi tumapoteza, na ile kifo ambayo umepata ni kwa sababu ya hiyo pint ya damu ambayo haijakuwa.
Tumeanza hii mikakati ili ya kuweza kufikia kaunti nzima, ili watu wetu wa kaunti wasije wakalia ukosefu wa damu kwenye benki.
Those who showed up reiterated the need for Kenyans to participate in donating blood.
Napata saa zingine wanawake wanapoteza damu, hiyo masaa yenye wanaleta uhai, na wenzetu wale wengine ambao wanahitaji damu ili tuweze kuokoa maisha yao.
Kutoa damu haikupunguzi kitu kwa mwili, lakini baadaye itakusaidia kitu kwa mwili yako. Hata kama si wewe, uende saidie jirani, mtoto wako, mtu yote pale. It's called saving a life.
Bungoma County kwa ujumla, kila mwezi tunahitaji idadi ya pints 1,000. Ingawaje kwa hivi sasa huwa tunaweza kupata pints 600. Kwa inamaanisha kwamba tuko na upungufu wa pints 400.
National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula says the government will install a new and modern mill at Nzoia Sugar Factory in 2 weeks' time as a part of measures to revive the ailing company. Wetangula said the new mill, to be installed in 2 weeks, will stabilize the operations of the sugar factory and improve its crushing capacity. He regretted that the collapse of the factory had subjected farmers from the region to suffering as their main source of livelihood stalled. Wetangula was addressing mourners during a funeral service of Clement Wanyonyi Kimura. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 9:05, still mostly cloudy in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 24. I'm supposed to be doing traffic. All right, looking at traffic conditions in most parts of the city this morning, we're looking at heavy still coming off the Thika Superhighway. It's heavy on North Airport Road going out towards Outer Ring. A little bit on Langata Road as you touch on that junction from the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. And it's still heavy on Wayaki Way this morning, coming in from James Gishuru, and looking much better on the Thika Superhighway. You're just going to have to contend with the traffic that's right around Murang'a Road right about now. Apart from that, we're coming out of traffic hour early this morning, and it looks good. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
9. How you doing? Good morning and welcome to the final hour of The Situation Room. 15th day of May 2023. It's Eric and Ndu. CT away until tomorrow. Hopefully he'll be here tomorrow. So we've been telling people about I&M Bank.
Yes.
I&M Bank says tunakujali. And why is it tunakujali?
Because we're taking care of your borrowing needs, all unsecured, up to amounts that nobody else in the country is doing so far.
Yep.
And the tenor as well is quite impressive. Up to 10 million shillings that you can borrow unsecured. All you need is a payslip and a letter from your employer to state that you work there. And that's just about the size of it. Go there, have a conversation, and they could top you up, or they could give you that loan that you need based on, what you deliver to them.
Yeah.
Up to 8 years to pay.
Hivo. Like that.
Yeah.
So we're giving away 5,000 shillings and we are asking what pressing issue do you have this morning? Share for a chance to win 5,000 bob. And we guided on how to achieve your goals with I&M Bank, the largest unsecured personal loan of up to 10 million shillings. Some of those answers coming in on social media. What are people saying?
Sinra Katisha says, since I got baby twins on Friday, I didn't complete buying their items. Nikipata Hipesa, I'll be able to buy them the items. Right now in the hospital, my baby isn't feeling too well. If I get that, I'll be able to settle the bill in hospital. I'm supposed to pay at least 50% of my school fees, and I would not be able to raise the required 7,500. Quite a lot. School fees, be able to pay off a loan. Be able to pay off rent arrears. Many things that 5,000 shillings to do right about now, isn't it?
There's a lot of loans and hospital bills.
Yes.
Grandma is not feeling well and I really want to go and see her, but I don't have the transport. Okay. So all these things are coming in. Okay. I'm on my last trimester of pregnancy and I'm unable to regularly attend some Vibarua, and most of the times I'm unable to find something to eat. I'm worried because my rent arrears are rising. So there are all these issues that are coming in, all of them one after the other on what then needs to happen. So we're asking you, go onto our social media, go to Spice FM KE on Facebook or to Spice FM KE on Twitter. And what you do is you answer. What is it that is your pressing need right now for 5,000 shillings? And that 5,000 shillings then can come in to sort you out big time. It'll sort you out big time. So we continue the conversation about debt and what's happening in the country. And we have a guest who's joined us now in the studio. Bernard Mushere is a fraud risk management consultant with an organization called Zero Fraud Risk Management Consultants Limited. He's previously worked at the National Treasury and the Debt Management Office. He's retired from that. Now he's doing his own thing. See, the thing about people retiring too early. 60 and 60, it's too young.
Oh, it's too young, is it?
Come on.
It's time to do other things.
Yes. Bernard, good morning.
Morning to you.
Welcome to Kenya's Biggest Conversation.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. Karibu sana. You retired from the government?
I retired.
Voluntary retirement or
after 60 years.
See.
In 2018.
Yeah. So I'm saying it's too early to tell people to retire at 60. 60, that's at your height, the peak of your everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Surely. Anyway, Bernard, karibu sana.
Thank you.
To welcome you to the show, let me give you the day's proverb. It's a proverb from Botswana. It says, a man's friends are as many as his enemies. A man's friends are as many as his enemies.
Yes.
What do you think that means?
A man's friend is as many as his friends.
As his enemies.
As his enemies.
Yes.
That one can mean even your friends could be your enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it could be the same people.
It could be the same people.
You say you have 10 friends. Just know that you also have 10 enemies. Okay.
Yes.
You worked at the National Treasury in the Debt Management Office.
I worked in the National Treasury in the Internal Audit Department.
Mm-hmm. Internal Debt Department.
Internal Audit Department.
Audit.
Yes.
Okay.
Under the Internal Auditor General.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What does that department do?
That department is the internal auditor. You are there to add value through giving assurance that the objectives of that particular organization is being accomplished. Yeah, so you are part of the internal control. So we evaluate the management, governance and everything to ensure the objective of that particular organization is achieved.
So what were you auditing? Were you auditing the expenditures, for example, within the Ministry of Finance? Or are you auditing the work that the Ministry of Finance is doing? For example, signing of multilateral, bilateral, whatever kind of loans we are signing, the amount coming in and how that is being utilized. The National Treasury, of course, the Ministry of Finance is an executive ministry, so it's the one that is receiving money from the and deciding how money is being spent.
The National Treasury actually manages the public finance, and the public finance management cut across all the government entities. So, as the internal auditor, you are seconded to any department, any government department. For example, I worked in the districts. We were the first people who were focused, the so-called district focus for rural development. So we went to the districts. So in that, when you're in the districts, you audit every department of the government. For some time, quite a number of years, I was in the district. I left the district. I came to Nairobi. In Nairobi now, you are posted to department, like I worked in the National Youth Service. I was the internal auditor in charge there. From there, I left to the Ministry of Public Works, the internal auditor in charge. From there, I went to the Ministry of Enterprise Development. When it was combined, about 5 or so ministries. From there, I went to the Ministry of East Africa, Commerce and Tourism. I was transferred to the Ministry of Health, the famous Mafia House scandal. Then to the headquarters, then home.
Upon retirement.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So, Bernard, you're here today because we want to continue our conversation that we've been having the last couple of... We're in the budget cycle. We are right at the heat of budget making.
Yes.
We have the finance bill that's been published. Public participation is taking place now with the National Assembly. Soon we'll now get to understand the full effect of the next financial year's budget. Of course, one of the big ticket items in the next financial year is repayment of debt.
Yes.
And our debt is now at close to 9 trillion shillings.
Yes.
A lot of it has been borrowed in the last 9 years, right? In that time of around 9 years,
yes,
you are in the treasury for that time. You know what was being borrowed, the reasons that were being given for borrowing this money,
yes,
and where the money was going. Okay, let's start with, is it true that our national debt burden is 9 trillion shillings?
I also got astonished when I heard it 9 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I took as a Kenyan. I'm a Kenyan citizen and a shareholder of this country. And now I have retired almost 5 years outside there. I have a duty as a citizen to see to it that our country is being run perfectly. You remember our president, I think we were with him yesterday. He said that everybody should take his role, contribute the little you can. Me being a certified fraud examiner, that I'm an anti-fraud expert. Anti-fraud expert is an economic crime expert, biased towards that branch of economic, which you call occupation fraud and abuse. When I looked at the books, because public debt is part of public finance management. And public finance management, the definition of public finance management is the set of laws, rules, procedures and systems that a government entity uses to source for funds, allocate funds, expend, audit, and what have you. So finally they produce books. And those books are supposed to be for the Kenyans, citizens like you, and the other one, because we are all shareholders. Like when you go to your company or you go to your cooperative, they usually give you books to show how they are
performed.
They are performed. Likewise, the government produces books for us. You go to Ministry of Finance, they are all budget books. You go to Central Bank, the banks for the government, so it produces the data, the statement of the lending. I looked at all those books. And when I look at what we have borrowed, we have a debt stock of 1.45. We paid 7 trillion. We have used our tax revenue because any country does not develop or finance its activities through debt. That is one thing we should understand. We finance our activities through tax because the government gets its revenue from taxation. So we should finance our activities because even what we are borrowing from outside, it is taxes for the others.
Yeah.
So now, when I added all that for the 9 financial years, it means the finances we used for projects came to about 19 trillion.
The finances we used for?
For 9 years. If you add now the debt stock, debt stock means what? Outstanding debt.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Which that is what you have left to pay. We have paid 7 trillion. And we pay our debt using our taxes. So even when we borrow, we don't borrow to pay with
we don't borrow a loan to pay.
Finally, everything will be paid from our
taxes.
Taxes.
Okay, can I ask a question? If we're looking at 19 trillion, what you're saying is that what is still owed by Kenya today in terms of debt is that what you're saying?
You know what?
The money that has been borrowed for projects was 19 trillion in 9 years.
That is what should be, because you see, we have paid 7 trillion. What was we paying? Debt, isn't it?
Okay.
We paid debt.
So we have been paying since 2013. Every year we've been paying some debt.
Yes.
And what you're saying is that in those 9 years, we've paid 7 trillion shillings.
I did the audit between 2014, 2015, up to 2022, 2023.
Okay.
I looked at that.
The current financial year.
Yeah.
So the money owed?
The money owed, according to the report,
Yes.
is 9.
It's 9.
9 trillion.
9 trillion.
And this money, from what you've said as well, was being borrowed for projects.
Yes, because because the law is very clear that we borrow to finance development expenditure.
Okay, but there's a question I'm asking here.
Yes.
Was this money borrowed for projects? I know what the law says.
Yes.
But was this money borrowed for projects?
That is what. Sorry. That is what. That is the question now.
You were right there.
Yeah.
You were right there. You did an audit. So I'm asking, this money that was borrowed, was it borrowed for projects?
If I compare the projects, because within those 9 years, the projects are worth 6 trillion. You see, according to the projects, because they are in the development expenditure. That's where the projects are. Because the budget is divided into two: recurrent and development. Development expenditure is the development expenditure. Development expenditure is purely for projects. We are together.
Yeah.
So anything outside there, then it should not be for project, unless those projects are not approved, are not authorized. And everything is authorized under
the budget.
The budget.
Yes.
Because the budget is the Appropriation Act.
Yes.
That is the law. And that is the law we make. So when I looked at all the Appropriation Acts for development for the 9 years, it amounted to 6 trillion.
Okay.
So you can see those are the projects.
Okay.
But when you add all the debts, including what we are paid, because we are paying the debt, we pay debt from the current expenditure at an account called public debt account. So you only go to the current expenditure, extract what has been paid, which was amounting now for 9 years, 7 trillion. Now, in the development expenditure, we have two things. We have tax to finance the development, and we have the loans, which are clearly indicated in the
budget.
In the budget. Yeah. But now, in the course of my audit, I realized it's as if we have two budgets. The budget which comes from Treasury, and when the Cabinet Secretary is preparing the statement of actual expenditure, actual revenue, and exchequer issue, you find there is another budget, which is different from
what was approved by Parliament.
From what was approved. And that's why, if you go now to the Gazette notice, because the Gazette, sorry. Let me.
I think Ednah can pick the phone, and keep the phone for you outside there.
Let me, sorry. Because maybe we'll get some things here.
Let me ask the question now from the beginning. Let's start with at the budget. Okay? So in the budget, you have two things that have been done.
Yes.
In the budget, there is what has come in as the projects and the plans for the government to spend in a financial year. Say in 2014, 2015, these are the projects, development projects, and this is how much it's going to cost us. Okay?
Yeah.
And we know the deficit. So if we have a deficit of 300 billion and the projects are 1.2 trillion, we know the rest is going to come from the loan.
Let me first of all tell you, correct, maybe when a budget is being taken to Parliament, it's actually balanced. If you go to Section 33, Regulation 33, the budget when it's being taken to Parliament is balanced. That is, you have taken care of the deficit by showing the borrowings you are going to undertake.
Yes.
And the borrowings are only shown in the development
budget.
Yeah. Because you know the law says you can only borrow to finance development.
Yeah.
So when the Cabinet Secretary of Treasury is taking the budget to Parliament, it is balanced. It's not deficit. There's no deficit. Because it clearly shows.
Yeah. So so using the same words.
Yes.
So at that point in the budget, you know this is the development budget for this year.
Yes.
This much is expected to come from revenue, and this much will come from loans.
Yes.
So basically, you're asking Parliament to approve for you to go and borrow that amount.
Yes, and in most cases, you'll find already the loan has been signed.
The loan has already been secured.
Yes, secured.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we know, for example, in 1 year, let's say it's 500 billion shillings.
Yes.
And then the next year, it's X amount.
Yes.
That is what you're saying now. Between 2014 and this current financial year, the amount of money that has been appropriated as development totals 6 trillion shillings.
Yes.
Out of that 6 trillion shillings that has been appropriated for development in those years, how much of it was appropriated to come from loans? Debt financing. Was it the full 6 trillion?
No, it was 6 trillion. Amount financed by taxes was 3.7 trillion.
So the balance?
The balance of 2.29 was from tax.
So that was coming from debt?
Taxes. Debts.
From debt?
Yes. And it is earmarked for each project.
Okay.
Money is earmarked for each project.
And this is the total?
This is the total.
2.29 trillion shillings.
Yes.
Is the total budget approved by Parliament?
Yes.
The total loan approved by Parliament since 2014?
2014, 2015. Up to now. 2022, 2023.
To 2023.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yet, in our debt books, it shows that between 2014 to that current financial year, we have borrowed 6 trillion shillings or thereabouts.
Yes.
About 2.1 trillion in the first 5 years.
Yes.
4-point-something trillion in the second 5 years.
Exactly.
So where was this money going?
Because what happened is this. When I looked at the budget, the budget book.
Yeah.
Then I went to the statement of actual revenue.
Yeah.
And exchequer issues, which is gazetted every. That's where now I found the cabinet secretary posted printed estimates, which were different. You know what I mean? Different from the ones which were
passed in Parliament.
And at that point, you find now domestic debt, which were not in the approval, have been introduced.
Okay, that's serious though, from what you're saying.
Yes.
And under what circumstances would that happen? That the cabinet secretary then is now posting results, and we're talking about in the year 2022, 2023.
Yes.
Isn't it? Or we're talking about a different year here. So we're saying that that they're posted was different from what was given in Parliament.
Yes.
Under what circumstances would that be? Could there have been a mistake? Why would it be that you would have two different rows of numbers?
That is the biggest question. Because ordinarily you'd expect the printed estimates, which are going to be posted in the statement of actual revenue, and exchequer issue should be the same as the ones in the Appropriation Act. But now when you go to that statement, you will see very different printed estimates. And if you go to now for 2022, 2023, because I have the table for all the years, you'll find the posted domestic debt of about 1.04 trillion domestic debt. And remember, you can only borrow to finance what? Development. But if you go now to the Development Appropriation Act, that is the budget, you find the total of the gross expenditure was 700 billion.
Yeah.
Over 711 billion. You see? But there was no domestic debt.
Debt there. Was there foreign debt?
Yes, the external debt were 292
billion.
If you go to that book, because I was actually looking at the books which have been published.
Okay.
The way they are published. So the question I asked is this: where did this one? Which law give the cabinet secretary the power to legislate, because there is registration now, and borrow
in excess of this
domestic debt, which are not in the Appropriation Act, because the budget is the Appropriation Act.
Whenever the government borrows domestically, is that also captured in the Appropriations Act? Does the Appropriations Act only mention debt and then leave it to the cabinet secretary to seek that debt, whether domestically or externally? Or does it specify in the Appropriations?
In the Appropriation Act, it clearly specifies even who is going to read the money.
So
even
X
the
domestic, X external.
Yeah. Come again?
It will be X domestic, X amount coming from domestic.
Yes.
Y amount coming from external.
Yes, but in this particular case, there is no domestic debt in the Appropriation Act. Okay. And remember, we only borrow for two purposes: to finance the development expenditure and for cash flow management.
Yes.
So in most cases, the domestic debts are borrowed to manage cash flow. To manage cash flow. And that should be short-term borrowing. because the law is very clear. Short-term borrowing is only strictly for management of
cash flow.
The medium term.
What is short term?
Yeah.
What is short term? 3 months, 6 months, 9 months?
Yes. But the law is very clear. They cannot go beyond 1 year.
Okay.
It should be cleared within 1 year. They cannot go beyond 1 year. Yes. So now, when you find something which is going to go beyond 1 year, that is medium term. And that medium term must be for development expenditure.
Okay.
And development expenditure is clearly defined in the PFM Act as expenditure to create assets or to renew assets. That's the definition. So you cannot borrow medium term for anything else.
Let's take a break. And then when you come back, Mr. Bernard Mushere, you'll explain to us. So from your findings, from this audit that you've done, where has our money gone to? So the money has been borrowed, okay. Yes. The money has been spent, okay. We have repaid some debts, okay. And you're saying this whole thing, if you add it up, it comes to around 19 trillion shillings. Yeah. But clearly not. So where has the money gone to? That's the answer that we'd like to hear from you. Let's take a break. 23 minutes to 10. Bernard Mushere is a fraud risk management consultant. He worked in the government for many years until retirement about, 5 years ago? Yeah. And the last station that he was posted at was the National Treasury, where he was internal auditor and risk auditor. And he's now spending his time in retirement looking at all these things that we are talking about. He's here to tell us what he's found. Let's take this break. We'll be back shortly. 22 minutes to 10.
Yolanda Mulwa, DJ Absolute. When the gang is together,
got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada. Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Eh?
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you...
Cloudy conditions continue in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 15. We'll see lows of 15 as well in Nakuru, where it's sunny, going to highs of 26. 25 will be the high and mostly cloudy. Nyeri coming down to lows of 16. And we'll see highs of 25 in Eldoret and lows of 13. It's cloudy in Mombasa at 27, highs of 31 and lows of 25, and highs of 31 and lows of 26 in Malindi, where it's cloudy. Mostly sunny at 24 in Kisumu, highs of 30 and lows of 20. And Kakamega is sunny. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 16. It's sunny at 24 in Kampala, highs of 28 and lows of 19, while in a mostly cloudy Dar es Salaam, we'll see highs of 31 and lows of 24. It's 12 degrees and mostly cloudy in Johannesburg, highs of 16 and lows of 9. The rains continue in Lagos, highs of 31 and lows of 25. It's cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 24. At 31, it's mostly sunny in Beijing, highs of 35 today and lows of 20. Paris is cloudy, highs of 16 and lows of 7. It's also cloudy in London with highs of 15 and lows of 7. Coming into Monday, New York, we'll see highs of 26 and lows of 15.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Unright. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Out of traffic hour, not much still going on your streets this morning. Looking much better coming into the city via Westlands. And North Airport Road, where we had that little bit of a hold up earlier, seems to be clearing out. You'll be able to get in from the Thika Superhighway into the CBD without too much of a hold up now. And so it looks like we'll get through Monday morning without too much of a bite. Let's talk through the morning on Spice FM, KE on Twitter.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. Kakamega County Governor Fernandez Baraza has challenged farmers in the western region to embrace sugarcane farming once more in a bid to support Mumia's sugar company. He said that the move will help in sustaining the company and increase its production for consumption. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula says the government will install a new modern mill at Nzoia Sugar Factory in 2 weeks' time as part of measures to revive the ailing company. Wetangula said the new mill to be installed in 2 weeks will stabilize the operations of the sugar factory and improve its crushing capacity. He regretted that the collapse of the factory had subjected farmers from the region to suffering as their main source of livelihood stalled. Kenya projects its exports to rise 15% to hit $7.38 billion in 2023, up from $6.38 billion recorded in 2022. Peter Ochieng, Acting Director of Research and Innovation at the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, said that the increase will be driven by greater sales of agricultural products to the European Union and Britain. And unions and societies within the health sector have issued a 60-day ultimatum to the government to reopen negotiations into the collective bargaining agreement signed and implemented, or they down their tools. According to the unions, the government has failed to honor the binding terms of a return-to-work deal it struck with the clinical officers in 2017. Luton Hospital is looking for a waiter and waitress with a KNCCI certificate with at least 2 years of experience as a waiter or waitress. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 19th of May 2023. Visit jobs.digger.co.ke for more information on these and other jobs. Digger Jobs, your credible and trusted jobs partner.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
The largest unsecured personal loan of up to 10 million shillings is available at I&M Bank. They say all you need to do is go to them and open an account, and let also your employer support you by giving you an introduction letter and doing I&M at work. And that's it. They assess you, they give you a loan. 0719 088 000 is the number to call. We're giving away 5,000 shillings courtesy of I&M Bank, saying tunakujali. And what we've been asking on our social media this morning is, what is this one pressing need that you have for cash? We have a winner.
Carol Ednah, this morning, I really want to nominate myself. I'm a single mom of one baby. I left my abusive marriage 9 months ago, where I was beaten every day. I decided to stay. I had decided to stay because I was pregnant, but when it was time to deliver, he didn't show up. And so I decided to call him. His phone was off. But then I found out that he had taken everything when I was trying to heal. Alitoka Jana Jioni Navitu. Seems having a bit of a rough time, Carol. And I am awarding you with 5,000 shillings today. Hopefully we'll take the pressure off some of those things.
Yeah, congratulations, Carol. All the best to you and all the best. And everybody else who participated as also, thank you very much for participating. Carol Ednah wins this one. Carol will be in touch with you through the social media. We'll direct message you and we'll tell you how you get your 5,000 shillings. Congratulations once again. All right, Bernard. Yes. In the next 15 minutes now, let's get to understand the result of what you found with regards to our debt. And the questions are, how was our debt procured? How was our debt used? And how much have we paid? You say we have paid from our recurrent expenditure over the last, since 2014 to this year, we've paid 6 million shillings, 6 trillion shillings. Am I right?
7 trillion. Okay.
7 trillion.
Yes.
We have paid, over the last 9 years, we've paid 7 trillion shillings as debt.
Yes.
Against an approved borrowing of 2.29 trillion shillings.
Yes.
But then our debt register reads 9 trillion shillings.
9 trillion shillings.
Seems to me that it's a 6.7 trillion plus 2.29 comes to about 9
trillion.
Yeah. Sounds to me like, we are talking about the same thing. Why is it that we have a balance? When we say our debt register reads 9 trillion,
yes,
What does that mean? Does it mean that we owe people 9 trillion shillings? Or does that mean that what we have been dealing with in terms of debt so far is 9 trillion shillings?
When you say there's a debt stock of 9 trillion shillings, you remember that is the one they are seeking to increase the ceiling.
Yes.
Because we have 9 trillion. So that is the outstanding debt.
What Kenya owes is 9 trillion.
Yes. After paying, because you cannot seek to increase a ceiling if you have already reduced.
If you've reduced it.
The most interesting thing is that we've been paying, but instead we still increase. We want to increase the ceiling.
So our debt stock right now stands at that 9 trillion.
9 trillion.
That 9 trillion, is it a combination of principal plus interest? Or is it only principal?
It should be principal because interest is paid when interest is considered when you are paying. That is the time you consider interest.
Okay.
Yes. So the most interesting thing when I looked at now, I told you that payment is done in the current expenditure.
Yeah.
It's an account called public debt account. And I looked at the payments for the last 9 years. And the external debts, I hand the data from CBK up to somewhere 2022. Okay. I got everything because even the books now, the Appropriation Act shows the payment. They give the estimates of what they are going to pay. So I considered even if we have not completed the financial year, I got the figure which is there. Then it means the amount they paid for the principal is 1.263 trillion. And interest paid was 835.9 something trillion. I mean, billion, sorry, billions. So now, if you look at that, I did some calculations. And I found that what was approved, the debt was approved, which is in the Development Appropriation Act. It's about, then, if you subtract from the debt, the external debt, and the debt which was carried forward before 2014-2015, then the debt stock should be 3.4 trillion. Now, the most interesting thing I found is in the domestic debt. When I looked at the domestic debt, I found a very interesting scenario. I tried to ask myself, these domestic debt which are not approved, they are using it to do what? I did a table and tried to compare the domestic debt against the payment. Like you find, for example, I just pick one, like in the 2022-2023, in the actual, in the statement of actual revenue, an exchequer issue, the domestic debt was captured as 1.1 trillion. And the payments, and remember we pay from our taxes, is again 1.0 something trillion. You see?
Like everything we are raising in revenue, we are paying.
Yes. So, from where I stand, when I looked at the scenario, it is as if we are borrowing, and the taxes are paying the borrowing.
The debt.
Instead of using the taxes
to
pay our expenditure, the current expenditure.
We've been borrowing from Peter to pay Paul.
We are borrowing, and then we are using our tax to pay. Why don't we use the tax straight away, directly?
What would be the explanation for this?
When I looked at it, probably the explanation would be the timing difference.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about timing difference of collection of taxes, that is taken care of. That is what we call cash flow, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that is taken care of the short term, not the long term.
Okay.
Yes. So now, when you look at that scenario, if you look at that table, you know, there is a serious lack of financial prudency. Because why borrow
to use the same money to pay,
and then you use your taxes to pay? That is the reason why you find. And when you are paying, the interest is very high. For example, now, for this financial year, I'm sticking this up because all of them are almost the same. After borrowing 1.40 trillion, the principal, we paid 461 billion, point something billion. And the interest is 553 billion. That's
very high.
That's
very high.
That is where I found the biggest problem here. And this is where it requires to be looked at. Why are we borrowing and we have taxes? Because you see, when you borrow, you pay with the taxes.
But from what you're saying, from what you're saying, that continues to be. It continues to be that taxes are used to pay the debts, from what you've said.
Yes.
So the question here is, this money that then is being borrowed for development, where is it going? Do we have, and I guess if we're trying to interrogate this, or if you were trying to interrogate this by the audit that you did, the question then should be, are there projects commensurate to this amounts that you see in the books for which, you know, these funds were borrowed? Can you say 1 trillion borrowed over time for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 projects? Can we see the commensurate project for which this money was borrowed, so that the tax money that you're talking about that should have gone towards paying debt is accounted for? Do you then see that this money which is in question, that there is a project that is attached shilling for shilling?
I don't think so. Because the only money you can attach to the project, which are actually attached to the project, is the development loans, which are captured in the Appropriation Act. Because it is direct. It is direct. For example, if I looked at the Minister of the Treasury, National Treasury, the development for 2023, they had about 5 projects. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You find they had a project called Nakuru Special Economic Zone, which was being funded by the government of Japan at 2 billion shillings. That's the loan from the government of Japan. And from our taxes, it's 584 billion shillings. A million shillings. Now, you see one thing, And that's the reason why I also say that the question of debt ceiling is unconstitutional.
What's wrong with that particular area there with the Dongo Kundu?
This is what I'm saying. Yeah. You can see that one is pegged to a project.
Yes.
And if you go audit, you find that this money probably was used in the Dongo Kundu.
In the Dongo Kundu project.
But when you come now to the domestic debt,
they are not pegged to any specific project.
Is because they are not in the budget.
I see.
You see?
Bernard, this audit you've conducted between the years of 2014 to now, these are the years when you had already retired.
Yes.
The years prior, because you were in the treasury, let's say in the years before this, what was happening?
In terms of...
You actually retired 5 years ago.
Yes.
So that's around 2017, 2018.
Yes.
So in those first 5 years, because you're an internal auditor, were you seeing these things in the year, and were you raising questions as somebody whose job was to ask those questions?
That could have been done by those auditors in the National Treasury. I was working outside the ministries and what have you.
Okay.
Yes.
So ideally, the auditors at the National Treasury should be raising these questions.
They should be raising these questions.
And also the Office of the Auditor General should be raising these questions.
Should also be raising these questions.
And these reports, because they are then submitted to Parliament, Parliament should also be raising these questions.
Yeah, in fact, this report, I recently appeared in the ADA, the Public Debt and Privatization Committee, and I gave them the same report, which was part of the memoranda I had sent when they asked for memoranda on the 2023 medium-term public debt strategy.
To the best of your knowledge, has this information that you found out been captured in the Auditor General's report?
I don't think so.
Ever?
I don't think so.
Why would it escape officials in the Auditor General's office over 9 years?
Probably the area they look at. Because I just got the published report from my expertise. I'm able, we say the cornerstone of fraud. The cornerstone of fraud is concealment. And probably that concealment, maybe somebody may not decipher it the way I may do it. Because you see now, like when I looked at these figures, in the domestic debt, you look at this is we are paying revenue, we are borrowing. So the question arises.
So it could be a lack of expertise in the Office of the Auditor General to be able to detect some of these things. So some of the recommendations would be that the Auditor General ought to then build and increase their capacity to catch on this as we conclude. Yeah? Bernard, you have shocked us this morning with all these revelations, and we thank you very much for coming to us. Thank you very much for joining us today. Bernard Mushere is a fraud risk management consultant. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. It's 10 a.m. Time for us to leave. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Good morning.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The High Court in Mombasa is expected to make a ruling today on the closure of past